In this world, it's all about fine lines. The line between success and failure. First place and last. Disaster and perfection. Every twist, every turn and every second is about sticking your line, hitting the red line, and crossing the finish line. Blurring the lines between reality and possibility. And with this riding on it, you've got to leave it all on the line. That's what separates the contenders from the pretenders. The ones who rise to the top and the ones who get left behind. Because when lines are crossed, champions are made. Welcome to the 6th season of the Porsche Tacor eSports Supercup by iRacing. Strap in February 3rd, live on Twitch.
Well, we are back once again for the 6th year. It is time to go racing here in the Porsche Tacor eSports Super Cup, and for the first time from one of the greatest race circuits in all of the world, Daytona International Speedway. I am Paul Smith. Joining me is a little under the weather, Arjuna Kankapati. But Arjuna, it's great to be back with Pesk, and it's great to see another season coming forward.
Yeah, there was no keeping me away from today heading to the World Center of Racing. And not just, of course, getting the Super Cup back underway, but seeing our All-Stars get out on track as well. What a week it's been for Porsche, Paul, of course. I was at the World Center of Racing for the Rolex 24 and got to see the Porsche 963 come out on top. And now our All-Stars get to experience that hybrid thrill.
Yeah, for the first time, our All-Stars are going to be heading into the world of hybrid power because this Porsche 963, where some of our drivers here in the All-Stars that you're seeing right now, this Porsche 963, it is a heck of a machine, incredible machine, and it's got race-winning pedigree, as you mentioned here, at Daytona. There you see our All-Stars champion in the top left, Casey Kerwin. Emery's back, so Straddy, so is Love 46. We've got some newcomers to the series as well, and new paint jobs as well, Arjuna, for Emery.
And especially now that we're in this brand new 963, we're going to see some of those new paint schemes. Looking forward to seeing how they're all developed. This, of course, the patchwork number 51. They're out on track right now for qualifying, so they're all getting the pressure into their system right now and getting to grips with what is going to be an open qualifying format over the course of the season. Here's a look at the schedule, and as ever, Paul, we get to mix up which great Porsche race cars we compete with over the course of the championship.
Absolutely, the All-Stars get to experience 3 different cars, starting off with the Porsche 963 GTP here at Daytona, next week at Hockenheim, and then the week after that at Le Mans, where of course you'll be able to see this car compete later on this year in Full Metal Racing. Watkins Glen Red Bull Ring has the Cup car, and then Imola and Monza finish off the season. But here's how the drivers here in the All-Stars are going to be competing. They're currently in open qualifying 10 minutes. The sprint race will be 17 minutes, a full inversion of the grid for the main race, 27 minutes. Crucially here, Arjuna, we're going to be seeing a pace lap as well with this venue.
Yes, for the very first time in series history, gone are the standing starts, and well, some will say, let's throw caution to the wind, but at the end of the day, you start here at Daytona on the banking in the tri-oval, and so actually launching these cars, whether it's the 992 Cup car or these 963 GTPs, which are not designed to go in a standing start necessarily, it's not the easiest thing. We've decided to give them a chance to get the nerves out of their system. They'll do a full flying formation lap before they get launched into turn number 1 for the very first time, all trying to dethrone Casey Kerwin, who are defending champion, back on top in qualifying with 60 seconds to go.
Yeah, he's too good in these cars, isn't he, Casey? He's too good in every car. You give him a car and he just drives, he thrives. With be it oval, dirt oval, road course. I bet if we put him in a rallycross car, it'd be good as well. He's just that good in everything, is Casey. So somebody needs to dethrone him. And Swally Almeida right now in second place on qualifying, 0.3 off of Casey's lap time. But of course, This venue, there's a lot of slipstream, a lot of drafting is going to be happening here around this venue, so that is going to be something that we are going to be keeping an eye on. The time is ticking down, and once that clock strikes 0, that will be the end of qualifying. They will not get to finish their laps. So the last couple of drivers coming across the line to finish their laps. But Arjuna, we're going to take a look at this venue, and what a venue. As you say, you were here last week.
It's a great place to go and watch racing. You perch yourself up in the grandstands at the top of turn 1 on this road course, and you can see the entirety of the 3.5 miles, just under 6 kilometers. Only 12 turns, yes, but they're deceptively difficult. Flat for the most part in the infield, and then that run into the bus stop, now of course renamed Le Mans chicane, requires bravery, no matter what car you're in. And just a minor rant, it would be great if there could be a place in the real world for you to go and experience the speed that the cars carry through there. The only place you can really go is get a ride on the Ferris wheel and check out all of the action. But like we said at the start of this show, for the first time, Paul, we've headed to the World Center of Racing.
Yep, I'm looking forward to this one. This should be an absolute cracker. Should this race indeed. We're going to go through the grid momentarily, but the drivers just getting themselves prepared, ready to go here in this rolling start that we're going to be having, and it's going to be a full lap. We're going to start off here on the back straight. We're going to go one time around before then we go green flag racing. Here is the front row of the grid then. Casey Cohen and Swally Almeida are sharing that front row of the grid. Row number 2 then for Sampsoid. Good to see Dave here once again, and the Pulpa Lopez, always fun to see how he gets on. Row 3, Dan Suzuki and Emery are sharing that row of the grid. Of course, Emery, a former champion here in the All-Stars. Daniel Gray and TK Tunikanan, well, he took part in the iRacing Daytona 24 hours. He's got a lot of experience around here. Basic Ollie and Quirk, of course, a former champion is Quirk, sharing row number 5. Row 6, Kenny 500 and Love 46, back once again here to share that row of the grid. Row 7, it's Grizzle, one of our new drivers. Alongside him is Strazzy. Row number 8, Matt Malone, the mustachioed man himself. He's going to be sharing the grid with one of the most dapper men in all of sim racing, Borja Zazo. And then right at the back of the grid there, new driver Storm Melania is all on their own. But do you know what? Around this venue, back of the grid, you can have a little bit of chaos happen at turn 1 before you know it. You're up there heading towards the pointy end of the grid.
And one thing to remember with these cars is the way you're slowing the cars down. I'm not using the word braking for a reason, because you're regenerating energy into the battery while also, yes, bleeding off some of that momentum. The optimal braking threshold for these cars isn't actually at 100%. Counterintuitively, you actually hit maximum regen well before that. So that's the point at which traditionally you would be expecting to try and find your braking threshold. One thing when the GTP cars first released on iRacing 4 that we saw was a lot of drivers struggling with the rear tires in particular locking. That's changed in the 18 months since we've had the car on iRacing, but of course we're looking forward to seeing how the drivers get on.
Well, speaking of drivers, we're going to have 2 of them join us here, Arjuna. We've got Matt Malone and Emery. Take it away, Arjuna.
Oh, as ever, we get to interrupt the drivers before they go racing. Matt, we'll start with you. Mustache adorned on your face. How excited are you to be back for another season in this Porsche All-Stars?
Oh, another season, and it's better than ever. Look at this grid. It's absolutely stacked. This is the biggest streamer collab on the internet right now. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
And you're probably more excited in some ways than Emery, because Emery, it's what, 5 in the morning for you, give or take?
Yeah, it's 5. Yeah. No, it's very early. I don't feel great, but like maybe the racing will wake me up, so it'll be okay.
Well, you've been a part, Emery, of our Porsche All-Stars for quite a while. It's the first time we've had this prototype, this hybrid being brought into the mix. First time we've headed to Daytona. What do you think we should be in for?
I'm not a huge expert at these cars, but I think maybe a draft battle. Maybe, I think at the front, like this is a pretty good track for drafting. Casey's really fast though, so maybe he'll just drive away. I'm interested to see.
I mean, we shouldn't be surprised necessarily that Casey is fast. Matt, you were doing the 24 Hours of Daytona once again just a couple of weeks ago with the likes of Tony Kanaan. I'm expecting that you're going to want to beat him today, though, right?
Well, no, we're working together. He promised me he's going to push me up to the front, and then we're going to both mess with Casey if we can get that far. But we'll see. We'll see.
There you go. Strategies, games, Paul, they're already playing it.
You got to love this, and this is why we love the All-Stars. Thanks very much to two of our grid joining us on the broadcast, and we'll be bothering a few others during the races as well. Here they are then, they're heading down towards the Le Mans chicane, and this is going to be the last time before green flag racing that they head through here. Casey and Swellier at the front. They've got a lot of angry Porsche 963s behind them. They're going to be interested to see what happens here in the opening of this race. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what to expect here. It's the first time we've had the All-Stars in the prototype. It's going to be a thrilling opening to a race. Of course, 17-minute sprint race here we're starting off with before we then head on over to our main race of 27 minutes. So drivers are going to have plenty of opportunities out there to get themselves a result. Through the final two turns 3 and 4 of the NASCAR turns, before our Porsche 911 pace car heads onto pit road, we'll be set for the first race of the season here in the 2024 Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing All-Star Race. Green flag is in the air and we are underway here at Daytona, heading towards turn number 1. Tricky to get your braking right. They've had plenty of time to get some temperature into those tyres and brakes, and everybody makes it through turn 1. That's good to see. In towards the International Horseshoe for the first time at racing speeds, and we've got some lockups there and a little bit of shoulder barging further back. That was the 6 of TK, Tony Kanaan getting involved in all of that one as we go through the dogleg then, flat out in these prototype cars, in towards the West Horseshoe now for the first time. Casey Kerwin at the front, ahead of Swellier Almeida. The Pulpo Lopez, though, Arjuna, 3rd place right now.
I believe it was Daniel Gray that went a little bit deep in that bright teal machine into the International Horseshoe. I'm not sure if there is going to be any lasting damage for the drivers, but important that Casey Kerwin hasn't been able to break out of drafting range and pull himself clear as they work now onto the banking for the very first time. You'll note that in this race with no traffic, they're going to be pinched down to that yellow line, trying to minimize the distance that they travel around the track into the chicane for the first time of asking, though. Don't expect too many drivers to be brave. Single file for the most part.
Yeah, they're all behaving themselves right now, and I would imagine that we'll be seeing a bit more fireworks towards the end of, maybe not this race, but the main race will be the one where it really starts picking up. But speaking of picking up the slipstream right now, heading towards the tri-oval for the first time. Looking around the outside, is there going to be a move made? No, there isn't by the Pulpo Lopez. But he's signalling his intentions early on. You could see how strong that draft was as well onto the tri-oval. That's going to be something that we have to keep an eye out for, especially on the last lap if we've got a bit of a slipstream battle, Arjuna.
Often at Daytona, we talk about not wanting to be the car leading on the white flag. You want to try and get the draft, and I know plenty of people have talked about iRacing's reduced draft model in the last 12 to 18 months, and so maybe that's a little less of an impact, but ultimately that's something that we are going to be thinking about. Also for the Pulpo Lopez, let's just recognize, Paul, that he joined us midway through our 2023 All-Stars, really had a cracking run, all things considered. And so given that he's got the full season this time around to really make a bit of a statement in that Team PGZ car, I'm going to be curious to see how he gets on. He's just won a national championship in autocross as well, so carrying that virtual over to the real too.
And he's also got better cable management than me, but that's not exactly difficult in the background of his shot there. Through the Le Mans chicane, you can see how much speed they're able to carry. You've got to be careful on the exit of that, because you can pick up a slow down penalty if you just cut the exit, the left-hander at the end of that Le Mans chicane. And now as we head on back towards the trioval once again, Daniel Gray's dropping down the order on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. I think he's had a slowdown penalty, but still at the front they are as they were. But meanwhile, further back, racing for 6th place, Dan Suzuki and TK. TK right now, he is in that 6th place after being 7th at the end of the last lap.
Yeah, TK also former winner of the Rolex 24 back in the good old Daytona prototype days. So one with, who was it, Scott Dixon, Carl Lawson and Jamie McMurray. So we're curious to maybe get a question to him about how these cars compared to those cars that he remembers. Of course, like you mentioned, Paul, he did race in the iRacing Daytona 24 hours as well just a couple of weeks ago. We had 17,000 drivers join us for the 2024 edition of that race. It was great fun, and I'm hoping that the rest of the special events this year are just as big and just as exciting.
Yeah, certainly, and this is what I love about iRacing as well, is that you've seen how, I mean, you look at Tony Kanaan, him and Quirk have just formed this almost sort of partnership between the two of them here, and they love to knock 7 bells out of each other as well on the track, that is, not off it. Although I did see TK making fun of Quirk's back earlier on social media, so definitely TK with the good sense of humour, and these drivers, we've seen that form, that partnership form out there on track. Further down, Kenny 500 trying to go the long way around Straddy with Grizzle right behind as well. Good to see the newcomer Grizzle on the grid here and trying to acclimatise himself to this race. But we're seeing plenty of action further down. I think everybody's just settled down now, haven't they, Arjuna?
Yeah, I do think for the most part drivers have got their nerves now settled into the new season. Of course, plenty of new drivers who will be trying to just get familiar with those who they maybe haven't raced with as much before. Those that have been around the series for quite a while will be, probably able to jump into the thick of things pretty quickly. I think what we're also seeing in some ways, Paul, is the fact that so many of these drivers probably have got a decent number of laps at this track in this car coming off that iRacing Daytona 24. It's one of those tracks where I'm sure I'm going to get some hate when I say this. You don't need to practice much at Daytona to be quick. You come here once a year for the 24, and then you hope never to see it again until the next January.
So as these drivers head on to the banking once again, let's just give you a little bit of a buzz, full throttle right now. What I love about that buzz sound, like, oh my goodness, as they're all getting a bit checked up at the front here, and there's moves being made further down the order, should I say. So yeah, change of positions. What I love about that is you can hear into the International Horseshoe, the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, should I say. You can hear that popping and banging on the exhaust from the onboard shot there. Really good to hear that in the sim. Casey Kerwin is making a breakaway at the front. He's a 1.5 second lead over Sueli Almeida right now. Papa Lopez was trying to make those moves down into the Western Horseshoe. Wasn't able to get it done, but that's allowed Casey to break away here.
I think we kind of were wondering, was it going to be the full hopes on the full invert for the main race to see Casey Kerwin not come out on top? Casey Kerwin did win the final round of the IMSA eSports Global Championship in a GTP car, albeit not a Porsche, alongside Owen Carroll. So he's now at that level where not just one of eNASCAR's finest, but more and more proving himself at the top level of road racing as well. There was a little bit of a wiggle from Grizzle just in front of Daniel Gray. And the one thing that you will sometimes note coming through turn number 1 in particular in these GTP cars, Paul, as compared to, I think, when we get to the Porsche Cup cars a little bit later on, is because of how much downforce these cars have, they have so much more commitment through that opening corner. Once we get to the Super Cup, turn 1, it will be scary.
Yeah, those cars in the Super Cup, they will be sketchy. They'll be locking up the inside front wheel. It's going to be a real test for those drivers in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup by iRacing. By the way, if you are waiting for that, that will be coming at the top of the hour, but you want to stick around for all the action here in the All-Stars, because right now it's Casey Kerwin leading by 2 seconds over Sueli Almeida, with the Pulpo Lopez in third, Sam Soin fourth ahead of Emery, Basie Colley, Tony Kanaan, Dan Suzuki have been switching places, along with Quirk at the back of them. Kenny 500 is behind Dan Suzuki now, who's been passed by Quirk. Stradi, Grizzle, Daniel Gray, Love 46, Matt Malone, Paul Giazzo and Storm Melania are the full field, 17 of them out there. Unfortunately for Storm Melania, she has dropped back from the back of the field here, so that does mean, however, looking at pole position, as there's a dive.
That was Daniel Gray, who, riding on board during the Bose full throttle segment that we had, I'm pretty sure he's got a message for me on the front of his car. So I'm not sure if we can try and dial up a shot of that at some point to figure out what he would like from us up here in the commentary booth. But yes, a dive into the International Horseshoe on lap number 1, another attempted dive here. And I think what we are slowly seeing right now, Paul, is, 10 minutes into this race, Casey Kerwin is clear at the front, but everyone basically fourth on back is in a similar sort of pace.
Certainly are, as they go through turn 6 and 7 onto the oval again. In Arjuna, we've been joined by Quirk to start with. We'll get TK in a second. In fact, here he is. Arjuna, take it away.
Yeah, we're joined by 2 drivers that competed in the iRacing Daytona 24 a couple of weeks ago, and then on social media in the last couple of days have been teasing each other about injuries. Quirk, talk to us a little bit about what you throw on social media first.
Can you guys hear me now? Sorry.
We got you loud and clear.
What I think is, I think this is my villain arc with TK right now. Can you guys smell that? It smells like there's a pass coming in a couple laps. I'm reeling him in, and he's going down.
Strong fighting words to TK. TK, you're a former winner of the Rolex 24. You were kind of wondering what it was like to compare this Porsche 963 with the Daytona prototype that you drove back in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this thing is so much faster than the old car that I drove. And you guys taking my concentration away, and Quirk's coming. I'm not, you know, drivers don't talk while they drive. I'm not a streamer, so, but anyway, yeah, it's been awesome. Obviously, I wanna point it out that Quirk should thank me. I'm trying to make him extremely famous, posting things about him, and I want to thank him also not to come here this weekend because, as you guys know, he was a little bit sick, so my wife told him not to come here. So thanks, Quirk, and you're not passing me. We're gonna go out together.
Okay, all right.
Fighting words between the two of you. Quirk, I do have to ask, new paint scheme for this year. Where's your face gone?
I didn't have my face ready for this race.
Does that mean the face car's coming back for round 2?
You know what? I think it needs to come back.
One more question, then we'll let you go. TK, you say you're not a streamer, but one thing that I think it's been great for people in the last couple of years is to join you on your journey post-Real Book Motorsport career along everything. So as you're passing Emily Jones up the road, talk to us a little bit about this opportunity for you to bring your fans along for the ride.
I mean, obviously, that connects me a lot with my fans, and I think this is great, right? I mean, obviously we joke, but Quirk became one of my best friends, and we met through here. So I think if I can give a little bit back to the community, to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a lot less busy, spending a lot more time in the sim, and then I got a job, as you guys know, and now it's taking a lot more of my time. But I love streaming. I try to do it at least 5 times a week, and we joke around, and you know, I think it's something that is important to all of us. And I love iRacing. I love this. I mean, every year, this is the time that I look forward to it. This year probably is the first year, thank God I'll be able to do all of these races, so I can show everybody that we all gave Quirk a chance to win this first championship. Okay. And you know, and that watch. But yeah, I mean, I love to do it. I love doing it, and as long as they keep supporting me, I'm gonna keep streaming.
Quirk showing off the watch that he's already got, but we'll let the two of you go. Quirk's just passed Emily Jones as well. Thanks for joining us, guys, and being such good sports. Cheers.
Thank you.
So there we go. Always good to hear those two all the way through this one, and it makes our lives a lot easier. Emily Jones, I want to point out, she does have the mechanical meatball warning flag, so she's got some damage somewhere on from this race, and is dropping back down the order. The question is, you have to serve that within, what, 4 laps? So it's going to be tight as to whether she can actually finish the race without getting disqualification.
That's a good point. Now, do you know when that black mechanical meatball would have been thrown?
Well, the lap before, definitely.
So, given that we're going to come around to see what should be one... I don't know if it's going to be 1 to go or 2 to go at the line, because we've still got just over 2 minutes left on the clock. So I'm not going to make a bold prediction that's wrong. We're going to wait till we get to the line to find out how many laps we are. No such dramas from a week ago here in the virtual world, fortunately. But I think, Paul, what this does now mean, regardless, is as Casey Kerwin is clear at the front, whether Emily Jones or not starts from reverse pole position, can you imagine what it's going to be like for Kerwin, Almeida, and for the Popa Lopez to try and get through some of that fighting in the mid-pack that we were monitoring?
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really big thing. And do you know what I love about Suelio Almeida's view? Is that we just get a little peek at his heart rate. 111 right now is his heart rate. So he's working hard. It's going up to 115. He's having to work here. And you can see the concentration from the Pulpo Lopez as well. He's focused here. It's great that we get to see these drivers' views and to put a face behind the name, but certainly, even though this is an all-stars race, this is serious stuff out here. We went across the line then, and we should be around about... Oh, that's going to be...
Are you going to make a call here, Paul?
I think we're going to be 2 laps.
I think it's going to be 1 to go, but I am very unsure about it. The question is going to be ultimately, when does Casey come towards that checkered flag? And we were debating, did you want to be second or not coming to the white flag? Well, regardless, the Popa Lopez finds himself in that position and now needs to use that hybrid spool, bump it up into attack mode, and now try and launch himself into that chicane for maybe the final time.
Oh, the pressure is on. Look at that, 123 heart rate. That's just jumped up a few. I can tell you now, when I race, my heart rate's a lot higher than that, but that's because I'm significantly less fit. As the drivers head towards the Le Mans chicane, once again, onto the brakes. It's about carrying the speed through this chicane. The Popa Lopez, though, getting up over the curbs, not the best run there, as they're going through the final couple of corners. Now, do we get the checkered flag or not? We'll have to wait and see. We're getting the white flag. It's going to be 1 more lap, or is it? No, the checkered flag is out, and it's going to be Casey Kerwin who takes the win then over Suelio Almeida. Popa Lopez finishes up in 3rd place. Samsoid and Basicoli going to be 4th and 5th. It's close to the line. Further back your order as well. Taking to the apron there is Dan Gray. And there is Tony Kanan's very damaged car.
Well, that's a Porsche 963 that needs to go to the spare parts department before we go for the fully inverted second race. But flag drama, at least not for us to deal with, as Casey Kerwin sees the checkered flag. And boy, if that was what we had for 17 minutes, flip the field, 27 minutes on the clock, this will be wild.
And it's Casey Kerwin, 1.8 seconds clear of Suelia Almeida in second place. Pulpo Lopez in third ahead of Sampsoid, Basic Ollie, Quirk, Dan Suzuki, Kenny 500, Daniel Gray and Grizzle on debut, rounding out the top 10. Red Sea Suelia up there in second place, it must be said. In 11th place of this race, as we go down the order, Matt Malone ahead of Strategy. Then it's Paul Zaza, Love 46 ahead of Storm Melania, who made up 2 places just by just running out there and getting some places. TK and Emery both finishing at the back of the field. Well, that was just the sprint race that we had to deal with there, Arjuna. We've got another race to come along, and it's an extra 10 minutes longer is this next race. 27 minutes main race here for the All-Stars, and well, there was some excitement in that one. We're looking forward to an even longer race now.
And we got to listen to TK and Quirk, right? And the banter they had back and forth. It was almost as though they're getting ready for their road to WrestleMania. But the promo that Quirk threw down, I mean, the excitement I think we should be in for the rest of the season. It's palatable. And ultimately, Paul, I like that we're only using this 963 for 3 rounds of the championship, because as much fun as it is, what's even more fun is mixing things up and shaking up the pecking order. And hopefully that's what we'll do when we break into the other 2 cars in the season.
I'm still gunning for Bailey, but that's just me. As well, we take you away. Casey Kerwin is going to be your race winner with Arjuna.
So let's see if we can dial up Casey and talk a little bit about winning another race in the Porsche All-Stars. This time, Casey, it's the first time at Daytona. Talk to us about what it means for you to win here, because I know this is one of your favorite tracks in the world.
Yeah, this is definitely on the road side of things my bread and butter now, from doing all the IMSA stuff kind of in my off-season lately and last year. Being in the GTP cars is what I'm most used to on the road side, and Daytona, obviously, I have endless amounts of laps here with the amount of 24s and stuff I've done. So, it was a lot of fun. Suelio and Pablo were really quick there at the beginning. I think they kind of had a few slip-ups that I was able to break draft, and then I almost threw it all away there with like 2 to go into turn 1. It's pretty tricky to manage the tires with how hot it is. It's good fun, and look forward to the reverse grid now.
It's good to hear that even you make mistakes. A winner here in the IMSA Esports Global Championship, of course. Reverse grid, we've got 27 minutes. You're going to have to fight your way through a mid-pack that was quite contested. What are your expectations? What should we be watching for in your onboard?
I don't know, honestly. It's pretty, like, everyone's is quick enough where it's going to be tough to pass. It's without some big sense. Everyone's pretty quick, and if you kind of get in a draft train, it's kind of hard to make some moves. So we'll see how the start goes. Obviously, that's always the biggest thing, is kind of getting through the first few corners, and then we'll see how it shakes out from there. But obviously, I think Emily and TK had some issues, I think, so they'll be up front, so they'll be definitely really hard to catch. But we'll see how it goes.
Another race win for Casey Kerwin in the Porsche All-Stars. Let's catch up with Love 46 as well before we go racing for the main race of the All-Stars. Great to have you back, Love 46. Talk to us about this Porsche 963, about Daytona, a really interesting way to get the All-Stars back underway.
Yeah, this is a great combo, and I'm so happy that we're going to drive GTP cars this season. And I really like Daytona, and that's such a nice way to start the season of Porsche All-Star.
So we have Hockenheim up next, and then the Circuit de la Sarthe before we switch up the cars. Which of the 3 tracks in this GTP is your favorite? I do have to ask.
My favorite will be Le Mans, definitely. I'm looking forward for this one. And then we'll see how we'll do with Porsche Cup and GT3. We've got amazing cars, amazing schedule. I'm looking forward for this.
Looking forward to seeing you across the rest of the Porsche All-Stars. Great to have you back, Lubiov. Best of luck in the second race today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And so, Paul, as we wrap up, a quick catch-up with some of our drivers, only about a minute away from getting underway for that fully inverted main race.
Yeah, absolutely. And these drivers, of course, will have a full lap to do to grid. And Arjuna, we've been luckily joined by the mustachioed man himself, Matt Malone. And, Matt, it looks like it was a bit of trials and tribulations for you out there in this one.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the qualifying didn't go so well because I didn't have a draft partner during quali, so I had to start near the back, but it's okay. And then Love 40, well, the problem, Love 46 and me and her were kind of working together there, but then Daniel Gray came and just crashed our little party we were doing, and he was chucking it in there with his Australian netcode, which I didn't think was a great idea, but we survived. That's all that counts there, but that was fun.
But second race, you're going to be further up the grid. You're looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I got to keep everyone behind me. Okay, that's the goal. Make my Porsche as wide as possible.
Well, all the best. We'll let you get prepared for this one. So that's Matt Malone joining us very quickly in this one. And we are getting ourselves set for the second race of the All-Stars season. Always good to get their thoughts. And, well, let's take a look at the grid then. The front row, it's shared by Emery and Tony Kanaan. Of course, Emery, former All-Star champion. Then it's Storm Melania and Love 46 sharing row number 2. Bolgezazo and Straddy then on row number 3 here with Matt Malone. He's got a bit of work to do, but he's got Grizzle to keep him company there on row number 4. Row 5 for Daniel Gray and Kenny 500. And then it's the 6th row for Dan Suzuki and Quirk. A lot of talk from Quirk in that last race, but basically in Samsung, they're going to have to try and jump him on row number 7. Row 8. It's the drivers who finished on the podium, Popo Lopez and Swallow Almeida. And right at the back of the grid, the winner from the sprint race, Casey Kerwin, starting on row number 9. 17 drivers here is what we are seeing here in this opening All-Stars round. And I tell you what, Arjuna, we've got a nice big grid. And that's with a couple of drivers missing in this opening round as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're expecting a couple more to maybe join us over the rest of the season. My application to the Porsche All-Star division has still not been seen, or, you know, maybe they've seen it and just decided not to respond to me. Whatever the case may be there, of course, 17 minutes for that sprint race. Full invert, as we mentioned a bunch of times, 27 minutes for this main race, though. And fixed setup is important, Paul, because especially at a track like this where we're talking about draft and about how important that will be, none of these drivers have that ability to dial out a little bit of that rear wing and be a rocket ship in a straight line.
Uh-oh.
Well, the worried sound there on board, but Arjuna, take it away with our guests now.
Yeah, we've got Dan Suzuki, we've got Storm Melina joining us now. Dan, great to have you back for another season of the Porsche All-Stars. We can see on the right-hand side of your monitor the drivers rolling out on the formation lap. How much fun was that first race?
Oh, it was great. Like, I tried to, as always, like get out of all the all the trouble. Yeah, I mean, what's good fun. Like I love the GTP Porsche. I love Daytona. So yeah, it's been good.
Sounds like a pretty fun combo for you. Storm Melina, how's it been for you as an introduction into the world of the Porsche All-Stars? A bit of a trial by fire, hasn't it been?
Yes, a little scary. Definitely just trying to keep up.
Now, though, you're placed into the thick of it all. You're going to start in 3rd with everyone trying to get past you. What's the nerves? What's the emotions right now as you get ready to head off to turn number 1?
Very nervous, slightly nauseous.
Dan, do you have any words of encouragement to someone who's going to be trying to move your way on forward as quickly as possible?
It's very easy. You just pass Tony and Emily, win the race, no problem.
Totally. I can do this.
We'll let them all struggle around you, and we'll see how it goes. Guys, best of luck for the 27 minutes in front of you. I can only imagine how crazy it's going to be.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, you can hear a little bit of trepidation there. I think that is for sure.
That's one word for it, yes. I think absolute fear is another. But I tell you what, I mean, what a group of drivers to be around at the front of the field. You've got Emery, Tony Kanaan. I mean, Tony Kanaan, for goodness sake, you know, an absolute icon in the world of motorsport. You got Love 46 alongside you, as experience from this series. Bolgezazo, Straddy behind. It's a good group of drivers to be around. I think Storm Melina will do well here.
And again, I don't blame her for being quite scared, because we know what these full inverts have been like in the past, and now we're going to Daytona, so I can only imagine how much crazier it's going to be. I did go and figure out, by the way, what the memo that Daniel Gray had for me was. Hi Arjuna, please say nice things about me. I think the most kind thing that anyone has ever said today on this broadcast about Daniel Gray was Australian netcode, and I am going to steal that from Matt Malone.
I'll tell you what, everyone seems to ask you for the nice comments, so I can be as nasty as I want.
There you go.
Is that what it is? There
exactly.
we go. Oh, I feel like the reins have been let go from me here on this, the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup All-Stars. It's the Porsche 963. There's the message to Arjuna on Daniel Gray's car. And to be honest, I think that's a little bit plain as that paint, but there you go, that's my opinion. We're getting ready for the start then. Emery and Tony Kanaan, these two have had some good races in previous seasons of this championship. We're waiting for the green flag. Emery goes on green, and we are underway for 27 minutes of action here in the All-Stars. Heading towards turn number 1 right now. Keep it clean, keep it safe, as there's a bit of a dooring going on there side by side through turn number 1, but we stay green flag racing nice and clean into turn 1, into the International Horseshoe for the first time. As a car has gone straight on there at the International Horseshoe.
And I'm trying to figure out where Casey Kerwin is in all of this. He's only in 16th out of 17 position in cars right now, so he hasn't necessarily made a storming start. Tony Kanaan has gone off the track now. I'm not sure where exactly he's going to rejoin, right down the tail end of the field. It'll be onto the banking as another one goes around. Basic Ollie loses the rear end.
Oh, was he pushed or did he fall? That is the big question. Well, one person who hasn't got a question about all of this is Emery, running away at the front right now, 3.2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. I do think that we need to call a safety car or something. Let's close the field back up here, because well, Emery can't have it all her own way at the front there. But my goodness, she's wanting to get this race done as quick as possible. The problem, Arjuna, is it's not by laps, it's by time.
Yes, and so hopefully there's no confusion like we had in the previous race as to whether there was going to be 1 to go, 2 to go. Maybe there will be a little bit more certainty around that, as Grizzle's going to jink up high and pressure Borjazazo in through turn number 1. As off the banking, they will unload. And look how Borjazazo gets squeezed to the inside. Grizzle's going to be on the inside as they run in towards turn number 3. Great fighting here. Pretty sure I saw a puff of smoke in the background. Daniel Gray maybe went around.
Oh, well, he's falling off the track there and dropping to the back of the field. Meanwhile, Grizzle, one of our newcomers, to the head of this gaggle of cars into second place right now, ahead of Borjazazo. Borjazazo's under pressure from Stradi right now. Not able to get past his Stradi, so Grizzle now trying to pull away in this field. You just look at the queue of cars that are behind Borja right now. Stradi, Matt Malone, Love 46, Casey Kerwin's up to 7th place already. That's a gain of 10 places. Dan Suzuki 8th ahead of Swollen Almeida. The Pulpo Lopez, well, the Pulpo Lopez started in front of Almeida, has ended up behind, and it's, well, deja vu from the sprint race.
Yeah, and you mentioned Casey in front of Almeida as well. He's had, after that tentative start, really blown his way on forward as we watch Matt Malone just jink out of that draft. And I think one thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on here, Paul, is not just using the draft, but how do you use the side draft as well? Because now as Matt Malone pulls out, he doesn't have that hole in the air being punched in front of him. What he can do is get close to the right rear quarter panel of the car inside, just pull a little bit of air off of that car, slow it down. He's not speeding himself up, he's slowing the other car down. And finally, on the exit of turn number 1, Matt Malone finally has the nose in front of Stradi and is up to 4th spot.
I think we might have found out what happened to Daniel Gray, because both him and TK, Tony Kanaan, are both on pit road right now, getting their free repair. Of course, these drivers do get a free repair here in this. They'll get more than one free repair, but I think they only want to use one if they have to. Meanwhile, Grizzle's pulling away from Borja Zazo, and he's actually now setting sights on Emery at the front. So Emery's got to be looking at that relative box right now, and if you're new to iRacing, you're wondering what I'm talking about, on the screen when you're driving, you can have a little bit of a box in the corner of your window just to see who is closing up. Here's what happened to Daniel Gray. This is into turn 1, and this, just the slightest of contact, 3 into 1, just does not go.
So, the nice commentator. Well, the nice commentator was going to say Daniel Gray had done absolutely nothing wrong initially, and then did absolutely nothing wrong to justify whatever happened there. So Daniel Gray and TK, like Paul mentioned, down to pit lane to get a fast repair, effectively a fresh car for them to go and race with, as Matt Malone on the outside of Borja Zazo is going to be confident in trying to work his way forward to a podium spot. Grizzle's already closed about half a second on your race leader. Borja Zazo holds on to the final spot on the podium for the time being, but here comes Casey Kerwin the long way around.
He's gonna try it at least, but Matt Malone's gonna fight that one off, and yeah, closes the door and slams it shut. Weaves to say, no, mate, not past me, not that way, into the Western Horseshoe. And well, Casey's gonna say, right, okay, I'll try the long way around again. It's almost working for Casey. In fact, he's got a slight overlap here. Oh, not quite. Again, Malone slams the door shut, but he's going to be compromised through the left here, onto the banking and in towards NASCAR turns 1 and 2, and it's onto the loud pedal now all the way through to the Le Mans chicane for these drivers. What's helping Matt Malone here is he has got Borja Zazo just in front giving a draft, but Casey right underneath the rear wing of Matt Malone.
Wasn't close enough to go for it though, so backs out of it's going to just try and set this one up out of the Le Mans chicane. Pretty good exit though for Malone in the American liveried machine as well, as now Borja Zazo just a little bit off of that yellow line. You can see Malone following him, just trying to find a little bit of that draft. Here we go as Malone's going to cut below the yellow line. Not typically accepted in endurance racing, but the NASCAR driver in Matt Malone goes down low, gets on through, and now has to watch though, as that's the problem when you go below the yellow line. You have to rejoin safely. Borja Zazo will hold on to 4th momentarily, but Casey Kerwin's ripped the 3rd spot on the podium away from his hands.
There we see Malone then behind Borja Zazo, and there goes Casey Kerwin to the inside of the International Horseshoe, heading towards the dog leg. Matt, well, I mean, he can smile, he can laugh, but that was a little mistake going to the apron there. Kerwin then to the inside and gets the job done. So Casey's up to 3rd. Borja Zazo, a wave of the hand, and yeah, what can you do against this just unbelievable talent in Casey Kerwin?
And so now, what, 5.5 odd seconds up to Emily Jones in the race lead. Grizzle has been somewhat stalled out now, about 3 seconds off of the point, and so Kerwin's going to close on that second car pretty quickly, and then we'll get a pretty good sense for how much forward he's going to work from there. It's rinse and repeat from the race earlier today. Sully Almeida in front of the Pulpo Lopez into the Le Mans chicane, but this time it's only for 9th position.
Yeah. It's for 9th position, but these two are fighting it for sure, and it really is a big effort from them. The question is, can they be able to work together to move their way through the field, because they've come to a little bit of a stop right now. Almeida behind Dan Suzuki, the 46 still in 7th place, so that's a gain of 7 places for Almeida as they come through turns number 1 and 2 once again, heading towards that International Horseshoe. Onto the brakes, slow the car down. Almeida trying his best to hold on to that position right now. Ahead there's a little bit of side by side up front, but Arjuna, we're being joined by the 2 drivers that are fighting right now.
Yeah, now we'll get to see if Sulio's heart rate's going to go up when he has to listen to the nonsense that comes out of commentators' mouth. Sulio, it's great to have you join us in the Porsche All-Stars. How much fun have you been having, especially with that Pulpo Lopez guy putting some pressure on you?
I mean, I could have had a little better start right there. Casey nailed it for sure. You guys just scared the hell out of me right now with this movie on the channel. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get there, and he kind of lost a little bit of focus, and I think he's going for it, so I'm gonna let him go for now and see if he can catch up. And then after that, we're gonna decide if we're gonna fight, because this race is a little bit longer. So the pack ahead is pretty close, and I think we can fight for, I think, P4. You never know what's gonna happen with the 3 first guys, but yeah, it's been super fun right now. It's been a while since I do some serious sim racing because I've been focusing so much on content creation, on my coaching, on my course, and racing in real life. There's some big announcements to be done this month. So yeah, it's always amazing to be here.
Well, I'm glad that we saw your heart rate rise slightly. Papa Lopez, you've gotten on through. You're back for a full season this time in the Porsche All-Stars. How have you been enjoying the 963 at Daytona to kick things off?
Now I am locking up the tires.
Keep asking him questions. Yes, go.
Yeah, I took advantage of the interview with Suelio to pass him, and now I'm suffering the same. So this is pretty hectic, to be honest.
Well, welcome back. That's all we can really say. You're going to have to deal with us for a few more rounds of this championship. Suelio, when we look forward as well, 963, the Porsche Cup machine, and then the GT3, all coming up this season. I've got to ask you, which one is your favorite, given that I know you like to drive a fair variety of machinery?
Well, here's the thing. I never have a real favorite car because I always like whatever I'm fast at, but it just depends on how much I've been driving. So when I started doing the Porsche Cup a few years ago, I didn't really like it because I came from like Formula 3 and fast agile cars instead of like a GT car. And then it took me a few months until I liked it. But then I really loved it. So right now, I'm going to say in a biased way that I really prefer the Cup just because I have so much more experience and I know I'm going to be a little bit more competitive. Right now with the GTP, I'm like all over the place and trying to learn the car. I had, I think, 3 hours of practice before this race, and it's a beast. It's a real beast.
That it is. One more question, we'll let you guys go to focus on the battle between the two of you. The Pulpo Lopez, I saw on social media that your autocross car looks a little bit different, and you've just gone and won your very first race as well.
Yeah, indeed. Last weekend I achieved a dream, and that's first overall win on the category. And for me, it was a dream come true. And also, my car now is purple like the Pulpo, so it's all working out.
So we need your Porsche cars to be purple as well for future rounds, just so you're aware, okay?
Now it's PG set.
Pablo doesn't need to know. We won't tell him. Great to have you join us, guys. Suelio, interesting to note your heart rate's gone down a little bit again, so we'll let you focus on the next 15 minutes that lie in front.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. I mean, if we've found out one thing is that commentators distract drivers.
Yes.
I think we discovered that last year. I think we're continuing building a sample size, aren't we? This is what any good science paper does, is build a sample size and get as much data as possible. The data that isn't looking good for Matt Malone at the moment is that he's got the Pulpo Lopez right behind him now under some serious pressure. Dan Suzuki, 5th place as well, is leading this little group of cars.
Yeah, and we're at that point of the race as well where about halfway in, you have the separations that have now built up, and we were talking with Suelio and the Pulpo Lopez for quite a while, and poor Suelio got quite distracted through all of that. That 5014 PGZ car now has Love 46 and Strati in between him and Suelio. So I think what we are going to see now, Casey's only 3.5 seconds off of your race leader, so Emery's going to increasingly start to come under pressure. You need to avoid locking up the tires, though. I think that's what Matt Malone's just done through the International Horseshoe.
Well, if he didn't, he was very sketchy on the brakes going through there, and there's a big queue of cars then. So it is led by Porsche Zaza. It's Zaza, it's Suzuki, it's Malone, it's Pulpo Lopez. Pulpo Lopez struggling to get past Matt Malone. We saw how it took a little while for Casey Kerwin to make his way past Matt. So he's a keen defender, is Matt, but, well, right now, there's Samsoid on board with Dave. And he's on to the banking, and this is the trainer cars that I was talking about. Porsche Zaza, Dan Suzuki, Matt Malone, Pulpo Lopez, Love 46 Stradi, Celia Almeida and Samsoid all here in a line together. And it's great. Well, Dave, I don't think he'll be wanting to be in this place, but he's got the best seat of the house right now.
He does have Quirk and Kenny 500 and Basic Ollie still behind him, so at least he's glad that he's not at the very back of the train, I would assume. But you ride on board, you don't necessarily see a look of worry just yet. I think that's because we got 13 minutes to go and we are still waiting for some of these moves to play themselves on out. Here we go up into turn number 1 as Dan Suzuki pops out of the draft onto the outside, a little bit further of a distance, but if Borja Zazo holds that inside, he'll hold the position, and that gap up to Casey Kerwin now up to 6 full seconds. Borja Zazo is playing a defensive drive to be witnessed right now.
Certainly is. There we go. Side to side, but Zazo stays ahead of Dan Suzuki right now. And it's all getting a bit tight up here. 4th, 5th together, along with Matt Malone. Popa Lopez right behind. Into the West Horseshoe once again. And onto the power. On towards the oval once again. And this is where Borja Zazo will be a little bit more of a barn door, by creating a big hole in the air behind him as we go through. NASCAR turns 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway. There's that slipstream, but pulling out the slipstream, not wanting to make the move is Dan Suzuki. Well, let's give you a little bit of full throttle action with Buzz. So, as they come out of the Le Mans chicane once again, and then onto the banking, and you could see the degree of banking that you have here when we're on board with that gyroscopic camera, just how much these cars lean through, how much the cars are tilted up with the banking. Onto the brakes once again. And Matt Malone, well, has dropped down to 8th place here. So Suelia Amida and the Popa Lopez are ahead. Dan Suzuki and Borja Zazo in front are fighting it out as well, Arjuna, out of the International Horseshoe. And well, Borja Zazo still stays ahead.
Still frustrating Dan Suzuki as Casey Kerwin's got up to 2nd and now works to try and close the gap on your race leader. So don't count out Kerwin from being able to go 2 for 2 to open up the 2024 Porsche All-Stars. But yeah, mentioned earlier, Borja Zazo has been really on a defensive drive that is to be watched and to be monitored. He is placing that car exactly where it needs to be. And even if Casey Kerwin and Grizzle were able to work on forward, the fact that Dan Suzuki, a very capable attacker in his own right, has been unable to work his way on forward goes to show how difficult Borja's making it, and now runs that inside line on the entry into the Le Mans chicane.
Borja showing a great display of defensive driving right now in this race, and behind them as well. As I say, Dan Suzuki, Suelia Almeida, the Popa Lopez, Matt Malone, Love 46, Stradi, Samsoy, Basic Ollie, Quirk, Kenny 500's dropped back from this this group. Storm Molina, unfortunately, dropping down to 15th place at the in the early stages of this race. Also holding that inside line. Dan Suzuki trying to cut back here on corner exit of turn number 1. Try as he may, cannot get that move to stick, although could this be the one? To the inside, Zaza's gone deep. That's going to allow Almeida and also the Pumpa Lopez to try and come through here. Suelio made it through, Pumpa Lopez didn't.
Suelio got in front of the Pulpa Lopez at some point as well, so that changed back around after we stopped interrupting them and allowed Suelio the opportunity to settle back into his rhythm. So keep that in mind. As off the track, I think that was Dan Suzuki and maybe the Pulpa Lopez as Almeida tries to go the long way around of turn 6. It's a very bumpy corner as well, and the suspension in these cars sometimes struggles with it the long way around. Almeida's surely going to get it done sooner rather than later. Bottom of the screen, Basic Ollie and Samsoid side by side as well.
Oh, Porsche Zaza got a big wiggle on out of the hairpin onto the banking, and it's going to slot in behind Suelio, so up into 4th place now for one of our newcomers to the series, up 12 places in this one. And Porsche now has got to be careful here, because here comes Matt Malone. We've seen Matt trying his best to overtake Porsche in this race. And he's got to go the long way. He's got to go the high side into the tri-oval. We've got 6.5 minutes remaining in this race. Almost contact between the two of them. Into the braking. Almost making contact, Malone, with the back of Almeida. My goodness, this is close stuff. And this is just outside of the podium spots.
And Matt Malone barely got that stopped in the nick of time. I don't know how close he was to running into the back of Borja Zazo, but he gets a hip check from the side of Dan Suzuki. Don't think there was necessarily anything bad in that, just a concertina unfortunate impact as a result, and now the Pulpa Lopez tried to take advantage and go the long way around. This is incredible. It's intense stuff to say the very least, and with 6 minutes to go, Paul, Casey Kerwin's now within 2 seconds of the lead. We've got this crazy battle pack for 4th on back. I mean, where do you even look?
Casey has been able to get past Grizzle. You're absolutely right there. If you are wondering about Pesk, he's going to be following this race here. But what a race this has been so far in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup All-Stars. And this darting in and out to the inside of the chicane. That's not going to work, Dan. And that's going to allow Matt Malone to make the move. Oh my goodness, there's slowdown penalty, surely. And Borja Zazo, no, it's just a bad run out of the chicane. And that's going to be 3 wide through the banking. That's not going to work. Bumping and barging. And incredibly, they all stay on track. It's everybody for 5th place right now, Arjuna.
I don't quite know how we don't have a Porsche 963 in the wall, but all's fair in love and war, it turns out. Basic Ollie gets shoved by Love 46 as we work our way off of turn number 1. They're still 2 by 2, almost 3 rows deep as off into the brakes they go once more. Love 46 on the inside in the blue and purple machine. Borja Zazo still trying to play Spanish Minister of Defense alongside of Basic Ollie, but Borja Zazo's gone from 4th to 8th in the blink of an eye.
Oh my goodness, he's gone down to 9th here, although could he be able to get that place back? Basic Ollie alongside, can get on the power earlier through the outside of that corner, and then onto the brakes once again, and down the inside, so that's Basic Ollie up a position then. This is sensational stuff, and well, I hope you're all enjoying this one, guys, because this one is great, and these All-Stars, well, we always say they deliver entertainment. We are getting that by the bucketful here in this race, and if you're looking at this and thinking, well, I want to try my hand at iRacing, well, head on over to iRacing.com today, start your iRacing career, 40% off of all new memberships here, so do check it out, iRacing.com. And while you're at it, on the website, check out iRacing.com/Pesk for details about this, the All-Stars, and also the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing that's following this race. This is not getting given up just yet, though. Borja Zazo to the inside. Samsoid's trying to go the long way round. That doesn't work for Dave.
Yep, and of course the Apex Racing team are going to be cheering on David Samsoid before they get ready to see their World Championship drivers take to the main World Championship stage. Borja Zazo gets the rear end, almost sliding around on him, a full 360, but in the effort of saving it, brings it back into a straight line for David Samsoid around the outside and forward to 9th spot.
So gaining positions and able to move forward. And well, this is certainly big wiggles. I think the longer race is just having an effect on these drivers. The tyres, they will be struggling a little bit out of the left-hander at turn 6 and 7 onto the banking once again. Time is running out for these drivers. Time is also running out for Casey Kerwin at the front, and he's now 1.2 seconds back from Emily Jones as we keep an eye on Borja Zazo, Quirk, Love 46 and Stradi all together around the outside. Contact! Quirk's around! Thank you very much. Well, you don't need to ask Love 46 2 questions about gaining that position.
Well, I guess Daytona was always going to be an interesting place to start. And now we go to the Hockenheim ring for week 2. A little flatter of a track, maybe a little less treacherous at speed, but surely one that's going to bring plenty of tight confines racing as well. And so as they go into turn number 1, Matt Malone going to get a shove from the Pulpo Lopez in that Team PGZ car with Basic Ollie lurking in behind. Should be 2 laps to go here, Paul. No such dramas as in that first race of the evening.
As we go through onto the power and out of the International Horseshoe, it's going to be close here, and these drivers will be going through here. Well, it's through the right-hander onto the power once again, and then onto the brakes to double left-hander. Well, Arjuna, this is certainly an intriguing last few minutes.
I mean, it's been great. What a way to open up the Porsche All-Stars as well for 2024. New drivers, a brand new car to the series as well, and to the World Center of Racing to kick things off. I mean, we could not have really set up as many storylines to be as exciting as this, but the Porsche team, along with iRacing, have managed to get everything dialed in, and, well, it's really just an appetizer for the main course yet to come. The Porsche eSports Supercup, Jordan Caruso, the defending champion, people trying to find out if he can be the first back-to-back champion. We've got one more lap, though, of the All-Stars before we get to switch over to that.
Oh, this is going to be close as well, because Casey Kerwin at the front of the field. It's just 0.3 of a second between Emery and Casey as they're coming through the tri-oval. Meanwhile, to the head of the field, out of the International Horseshoe, through the dogleg, and right now, if you're Emily Jones, you're thinking, oh no, why couldn't that checkered flag have come 1 lap sooner for me? Well, she's got the hard work to do now. Casey Kerwin behind. You can see the 2 of them. Look at Emily, eyes darting all over the screen momentarily, looking in the mirrors, seeing where Casey is. Casey, just nice and relaxed, leaning back there in his seat. I don't think he'll make the move into the Le Mans chicane. He'll want to make the run out of there. Or maybe you don't ask him twice and he just takes the move now.
Problem was that both cars got a relatively even run out of turn 6 and onto the banking, and so now as they're side by side, Kerwin effectively pinching Emery on corner entry, but she gets through the sequence as perfectly as you would want. Look at the surprise, the reaction from Emery. She might have this on the run to the line.
Oh, don't say that yet, because here comes Casey. We're on the final lap. It's close, but is it going to be close enough? It's going to be Emily Jones taking victory here. A flash of the highlights from Casey Kerwin. Emily Jones is your race winner in the main race of the Porsche TAC Heuer eSports Super Cup by iRacing All-Stars. Great stuff to see from those 2. The rest of your field are going to be working their way through to finish the line, but let's take you to the Buzz post-race show here, because we're running out of time here with the All-Stars. But my goodness, here's the results. Emery ahead of Casey Kerwin, Grizzle, Swelly Almeida, Dan Suzuki, Pulpo Lopez finishing 6th ahead of Basic Ollie, Matt Malone, Samsoid and Borja Zazo. Love 46 ahead of Stradi with Storm Molina, Quirk, Kenny 500, Daniel Gray, and Tony Kanaan, who had issues early on in the race. And hopefully we'll be able to get a quick word with our race winner. And take it away, Arjuna.
I mean, Emily, what a race that was. I have to really wonder, did you think you had done enough on the run through the Le Mans chicane to hold on to that win? Because the look of surprise on your face said you didn't expect to hold on.
Yeah, look, I was unsure of if Casey was going to send it around the outside, and I'll be honest, I backed it down a tiny bit in the middle of the chicane because people in my chat were like, you should do that, and I'm like, okay, and then it worked. So yeah, good times.
So it sounds like I'm going to need to slide into the chat for the remaining Porsche All-Stars races and give you terrible advice, but congratulations, Emery, on grabbing a victory here at Daytona.
Thank you. And yeah, good work, Casey. He's pretty good. Imagine if there was like an American pro iRacing series. I reckon he could compete in that. He's very good.
Just a little bit good, Paul, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. He's okay. He's all right. Well, I mean, that was an exciting All-Stars race. But coming up next, it's going to be the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing. And well, the Porsche Cup cars around here, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be thrilling, isn't it?
It is, and as far as I'm aware, Paul, the Porsche Carrera Cup North America has never come to Daytona for real-world competition. So this is a first for Porsche, for iRacing, and for everyone to get to see.
Well, stick around, because that's coming up next. Caruso's dropping down the order on the timing screen. What on earth has happened to our championship leader? And he's out! He is out of this race! Oh, that is huge championship implications here. Sebastian Job has just got himself back into second place in the championship here.
Jordan Caruso takes the point and now tries to run away.
This is going to be real intense towards the end here.
Australia has yet another champion here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup.
In this world, it's all about fine lines. The line between success and failure.
Jordan Caruso, Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup Championship of 2023.
Blurring the lines between reality and perfection.
Prophecy fulfilled. Sebastian Job is the world champion.
Welcome to the first race of Season 6.
Well, it has been a long wait, but we are finally here for the opening rounds of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing, and we are doing it right here at Daytona International Speedway. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati back once again. My goodness, this has been I've been looking forward to this one. I've been excited.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this, Paul. Since we crowned Caruso the champion, I've been waiting. I got to go to Porsche Rennsport reunion, see all the classic Porsche race cars, got this great poster over my shoulder as well. But ultimately, even if I'm a bit under the weather today, it could not stop me from being here for the series' first trip to the World Center of Racing. We're going to unleash the Porsche 992 Cup car around the World Center of Racing.
Well, we were having so much fun with the All-Stars that unfortunately we have just missed out on qualifying, but we can tell you that our Tag Heuer pole position award winner, the first one of the season, well, it will go to Sebastian Job. This driver, he has been on some real form in the Porsche eSports Carrera Cup Great Britain that started in the last few weeks, and he seems to be carrying that over here into this series.
It is the 10th pole position for Sebastian Job in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. And so Sebastian joins us now. Seb, we're building up out of the Le Mans chicane, newly renamed. Talk to us about this lap and the tire conditioning that goes into making it so fast.
Yeah, so there's a lot of focus on tyres for this round, so you see quite a big spread in the field. Mostly just trying to get them into that perfect window. And then as we come up to turn 1, we're kind of opening up the corner as much as possible, bringing it over to the right, and we use all of the track. We go beyond the white line as that's what's allowed. And then I managed to hook it in very nicely, get right up to the grass, and full throttle on exit. And then you come into turn 2, and this kind of tells you if your lap's going to be good. You can tell when your tyre is in the right window, because when you go through turn 2, it just grips on exit, and you can just floor it on throttle. Really nice exit, as you can see, and I knew straight away, I was like, it's going to be a good lap, because you just know you've got the tyre in the right window at that point. And then because I know that, I can brake really late into here and carry lots of speed through and early on throttle and just power out.
I wanted to touch on something you said, because all of this infield lap is really important, but that spread in qualifying. Seb, you're 1.5 seconds quicker than the slowest driver in the field.
Yeah, I think some people maybe didn't quite put enough focus on that. You can see the people at the front, they clearly have figured it all out and have put a lot of emphasis on the getting the tyres into the right window for quali. So I guess that explains the gap. I think it's quite clear that it's like, normally it's on a team by team basis of some teams have it figured out, some teams don't. So it's a bit of a shame that there's such a big gap, but also at the front it's extremely close. So for the most part, everyone's kind of on the same page, and it just comes down to the driver at that point. We all have different preferences on what we want with our tyre, so that's where the differences lie.
Looked like a pretty good run on that chicane as well. The pressure of trying to stay within the confines of the track. Talk to us very quickly, Seb, before we release you to go and focus on the first race of the season. How important is qualifying really to get the rest of the season off on a good footing?
At this track, not really. It's, I think, the worst track to get pole, because it means nothing. You will see in the races it's going to be carnage, and I will be very happy if I just finish both races. Another track, qualifying really important, but here all I cared about was being in the top 8 really. Again, some nice bonus points for pole, I think, but other than that, I know the race is going to be chaos, so I'm just looking to finish. This is a very chaotic track, and I think just securing some points and surviving is the main goal.
Well, best of luck to kick off the season. Congratulations on your 10th pole position in your Porsche eSports Supercup career, and best of luck for the chaos at the World Center of Racing.
Thank you.
Always good to hear from the man on pole position. Here is your grid then. Sebastian Job and Alejandro Sanchez share row number 1 with Luke McEwen and Zach Campbell row number 2. Gustavo Ariel and Dino Lombardi on the 3rd row of the grid. Chris Lowe and Lassie back ahead of Johan Hart and Oscar Pye. Kevin Nielsen and Michael Janney round out the 6th row. Ty Stuckback and champion Jordan Caruso down on row number 7. Pinto and Thompson teammates row number 8 with Bryn Collins and Salva Talent row number 9. Simone Maria Marcheno and Sam Kiter round out row number 10 with Luca Kita, Cooper, Webster, Julian Sonnen and Quentin Violate. Jakub Maciejewski and Marina Sarika share row number 13 with Parker White, Matti Sipila, Oskari Line and Alessandra Biko round out your 30-car grid. Well, let's take a look at how things and the races are going to go here today as we're on board the pace car. It's a 15-minute sprint race to start this one off, and then it will go on to the top 8 being inverted for the main race. 30 minutes, double the length for the main race for these drivers to be able to get themselves their championship positions and points in the early going. And we heard there from Sebastian saying it's good to get some early bonus points for the start of the season. It's a compressed season this season, Arjuna. We're down to 7 weeks of the championship. Points are going to be a much more of a premium.
And even in that 7 weeks, there are some unique formats that we'll have. We'll have a mid-season tournament. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, once we get closer to it. Final round, the season finale, double main race rather than the sprint and the feature that we've traditionally become accustomed to. And so there are a lot of changes heading into this new season of the 2024 Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing. And very quickly, Paul, we have this full formation lap with which to work. I want to talk about some of the big changes I feel like, which is I think something that you and I maybe talked about a little bit off air, but that is changes in the series. So, certain drivers stepping away from competition, such as Max Benneker, even the likes of Jamie Fluke, drivers we become very accustomed to seeing in the competition. And so rising in their stead, Paul, there are only 6 rookies that are actually joining the field.
Yeah, it's a really low amount of rookies joining us this time, but the lights are out on the pace car. We are going to be good to go here in the opening round of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing. There goes the pace car to driver's left. Barney the flagman has got the green flag ready, and we're underway. Green flag in the air, and through they go, heading towards turn number 1. Great launch from Sebastian Job. It's now down towards who can get that second place, though, because Luke McEwen is trying his best, and he's done so over Alejandro Sanchez. Gustavo Ariel is right there with him as well, trying to fight for third place as we go into the International Horseshoe. It's 2x2x2x2, all the way down the field, through there and out the corner, in towards the dogleg for the first time. And there's a car spearing off to the side of the track, and it's Josh Thompson. Thompson's dropping down the order, but we stay green flag racing into the Western Horseshoe. It looked like maybe Julian Sonnen perhaps getting involved there. No, it was Zach Campbell trying to sneak down the inside, not able to make the move. So it's Sebastian Job who leads, just over half a second ahead of Luke McEwen, Alejandro Sanchez, Gustavo Ariel, Campbell, Lombardi back. Half pie is your top 10.
And so as we work into the Le Mans chicane for the first time of asking, McEwen in front of Sanchez, sister cars, even though one represents the Apex Racing team, one represents Stormforce Racing, they will likely be trying to work together and boxing out the likes of Gustavo Ariel, Zach Campbell, and even a fellow rookie in the ranking, Chris Lullen, who currently sits down in 6th position. So important to not get a slowdown on this first lap because it's so much more painful. Zach Campbell didn't seem to get a pretty good run off the corner, but he boxed out Chris Lullen, wasn't able to take advantage, and now Dino Lombardi in the Altus eSports car is going to close with a double draft.
And these cars going to be hitting VMAX, and you'll just be hearing them bouncing off the limiter in towards turn 1, and up at the front, McEwen was looking to the inside of Job. Meanwhile, a little bit of rubber paint going on there further down, and Lulham keeping Lombardi behind for the time being. 2023 champion Sheldon Caruso down in 15th right now, so not being a good start to his title defense at this point. But Chris Lulham, one of those rookies to the series, driving for the Verstappen.com racing team, well, he is going to be, I don't think he'll be under the most pressure. I think right now the pressure's off him being a rookie.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways to look at it, right? One way is that you don't have the expectation, and so you should feel pretty free to come and just drive and perform. The other one is that we've often talked about second season syndrome, and look at Alessandro Bico. Yes, I know qualifying didn't go great for him here today down the very back of the order, but last season was a bit of a standout campaign for him in the Williams eSports camp, grabbed a podium in the first round of the championship, and so there's 2 different ways to think about it. Luke McEwen's only in one sort of mind right now, which is, I don't need to lead, I can play the bump drafting games to great effect.
Yeah, he certainly is doing just that, but he's got a little bit of a wiggle, not much of one, out of the Le Mans chicane, and that's just going to allow series veteran Alejandro Sanchez. You know, there's only 2 drivers who have actually got an ever-present tag next to their name, Sebastian Job and Alejandro Sanchez, and look at that. The Apex Racing Team driver and the Stormforce Racing drivers working together to get themselves ahead of Job. I don't think Sebastian's too worried about that right now.
No, and especially if he can take advantage and slip up the inside of Sanchez. One thing to keep in mind, Sebastian Job representing, of course, the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports team along with Cooper Webster, but Red Bull Racing Esports, Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports have a partnership now with Team Redline, and so they'll be working together. We've already seen Sebastian Job represent Team Redline in some other iRacing competitions. Might be a chance for Gustavo Ariel to work with Sebastian Job. Job on the outside, heading up to the Western Horseshoe.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here as Sebastian that he doesn't get hung out and get freight trained a little bit here. But he's staying alongside Sanchez, Alejandro Sanchez and Job. We saw those two having quite the run in the 2020 season, of course, those two, the year that Sebastian won the championship. And Sanchez has to drop in behind Gustavo Ariel. I mean, what a debut season it was for Gustavo. Absolutely sensational stuff. Got 2 main race victories and a sprint race victory as well. He's shown that he comes here to be business. And Sanchez down the inside into the Le Mans chicane. It's a change back up to second place for Alejandro.
And I think this is kind of what we should expect, right? If these are only going to be 8-lap races, every single lap is going to count because you want to put yourself in the right position at the right time. Zach Campbell's in a bit of no man's land. The only one of the VRS Coanda cars up towards the front, and the Georgia driver is going to sit behind and just watch as 3 red line machines push on the outside. It's Job, Ariel and Lullum, the red line express, going on the outside on the run to turn 1.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Oh, there's an opportunistic move from Campbell. Force your way down the inside at turn 1 there, Zach. My goodness, that was a bit forceful and rough, but it worked. Well, partly worked. He's still alongside Lullum. But this reminds me of watching the Coca-Cola eNASCAR iRacing series, just with the way that everybody's in a pack and everybody's having to do a bit of drafting and form lanes, form channels to try and get a high line and a low line to use the draft.
And now Luke McEwen not only quote-unquote broken away, but now Alejandro Sanchez boxed in with nowhere to go. He will force it to the inside of Sebastian Job, not hanging around as that Stormforce Racing driver, and as they work back onto the banking pole, McEwen is 1.3 seconds clear. He is in a very realistic possibility of breaking the toe to those behind if he can get a great run out of this Le Mans chicane. Sanchez still alongside with Sebastian Job.
Oh, this is helping McEwen at the front, these two fighting it out in towards the Le Mans chicane. Onto the brakes and still side by side. They're going to be slower through there. Sanchez runs a bit wide. Here comes Chris Lullum now in all of this, but McEwen has been able to pull away 1.8 seconds now. He will have broken that draft. Meanwhile, you see all those Red Bull liveries. You've got the, as you said, Oracle Red Bull Racing eSports driver Sebastian Job. You've got the Team Redline drivers as well here working together, as well as the Verstappen.com racing team as well. So it's all 3 abreast in towards turn number 1. Where do you look? Well, you look at Sebastian Job, 2nd, Ariel 3rd, Lullum 4th, and Sanchez has to slot into 5th ahead of Johan Half.
Were they? There were 3 Fire eSports cars side by side behind. I'm almost 100% sure of that. And now Lasse Back has just been forced out wide through the International Horseshoe. My timing screen is lit up right now. Not just Collins that has gone around, Cooper Webster, a whole handful of cars, Quintin Violate. Paul, we had to wait for half of this race to be complete, but 4 laps done, 4 to go, 3 wide through the Western Horseshoe. Wherever you look, there is chaos.
Cooper Webster has a mechanical meatball warning flag, so he is going to be out of this race right now. So not a good start for Cooper after his really good season last time out. Even though he did have to miss a couple of rounds due to real world commitments. But Job, Ariel, Lullum ahead of Sanchez, Campbell in 6th place. And well, let's just look at the replay then and try and figure out what happened here, Arjuna.
So, out of turn 1, the Stormforce car is already locked with the Altus car, and so what happened effectively after that was a moot point. The 8 machine of Britton Collins gets spat out all the way across the track. Unfortunate racing incident, yes, but don't forget we do have race control that will look into these incidents at the conclusion of the race. Post-race penalties could be a very real thing to think about, and now with all of that chaos being subsided, we've got 3 laps to go. Luke McEwen no longer so comfortable at the front because Job, Ariel and Lullum, that red line express pull, now back within 1.5 of your leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the front then, McEwen, he is getting caught slightly as Luke. So you can tell Sebastian Job then in that Oracle Red Bull sim racing car leading the charge of the others, the Red Line and the Verstappen.com racing team as well. So three of them all working together right now because they have to. They've no other choice here, Arjuna. They've got to work together to try and catch up. Sanchez has dropped down the order now. Something's happened to him in all of this on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, got more battle in the fire drivers working and trying to fight their way through. But my goodness, where do you look? Where do you look at this? Where do you look in all of this, Arjuna?
I mean, I don't even know, to be completely honest. We still effectively have 28 cars running on the lead lap, and realistically 20 cars in the leading train. Even Jordan Caruso, our defending champion, who we ride on board with right now, is looking quite comfortable. And what did we talk about, Paul? Not just in 2023, but in 2022 as well, that saw our champions be crowned. Whether it was Jordan Caruso, whether it was Diogo Pinto, we nicknamed them Captain Consistent. Not always winning, but staying out of trouble, accumulating points, and maybe that's what Jordan Caruso is looking to do today, along with, as Matt Malone very tastefully put it, deploying the Australian netcode.
But this is not how he would have wanted to have started his championship defence, though. As we said, only 7 weeks compared to 10, it's going to be a lot more difficult to be able to fight back in this series. And so we're going to the International Horseshoe, and again that gap at the lead is coming down a little bit, but it's not as much as they would like for Job and company. Lombardi's dropped down the order in this one as well, so something's happened to him at the International Horseshoe. It's crazy, it's manic, it's chaotic, and there is Lombardi straight across the road. Oh my goodness, how on earth did he not make contact with anybody?
Well, he's made the switch to Altus, and fortunately Simon Feigel's going to be thinking that could have been a whole lot bigger. I'm sure there was a technical issue or maybe just a mistake from Dino Lombardi, but somehow we got away with that being a lot bigger than it had any right to be, Paul, because that could have been huge.
My goodness, I've not seen anything like that for a long, long time. And yeah, you could be right. Maybe perhaps a mechanical issue with his rig setup, or maybe once you get out that grass, you can be a little bit of a passenger out there, and especially with it bumping up like it did. It's very hard to slow a car down when it's mid-air.
It's almost like you don't have any contact with the ground, and at the best of times in race cars you have only 4 relatively small contact patches with the tarmac itself. 1 lap to go though, Paul, here in this sprint race, and Luke McEwen has been reeled on in, but maybe not to the degree that I had thought. He might still have a chance of holding on to the victory here at the Daytona International Speedway.
Luke McEwen, a rookie. Could this be one heck of a debut race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing? But he is being charged down. As we mentioned, it is that Oracle Red Bull sim racing car of Sebastian Job. We've got the Team Redline car of Gustavo Ariel, and we've got the Verstappen.com racing car of Chris Lullum, all working together. I bet they were wishing that there was an extra couple of laps here, because they have been charging down Luke McEwen here.
And, you know, Redline played this bump drafting strategy to perfection in the iRacing Daytona 24 hours, where we saw Max Verstappen, of course, part of the lineup with Johnny Vecchio and Ollie Steinbraten that won that race. And so Job, Ariel, Lullum, they've all got a lot of practice at doing this crucial strategy. And the reason why I'm going to emphasize that, Paul, is because we've got a longer race coming up after this. If you cannot work together in bump drafting, we've already seen just how easy it is to break away. McEwen still 1 second clear into the Le Mans chicane for the final time.
So, is it going to be a sprint race win in his debut race in the championship? It certainly looks like it. You've got 3 drivers together there, all different teams. They're all racing against each other right now, but Luke McEwen on screen right now, he's looking in his mirror. He knows that he's far enough ahead, and a race win on debut for Luke McEwen here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing. Across the line for the rest behind, Sebastian Job just ahead of Gustavo Ariel and Chris Lullum. Zach Campbell finishes in 5th place ahead of Johan Haaf. Matthias Stuckbeck, Oscar Bai, Diogo Pinto and Kevin Nielsen round out the top 10. Jordan Caruso, your champion from last year, down in 13th place, and we'll give you those results up on screen. But my goodness, that was an exciting opening race. 0.6 of a second was the lead in the end for Luke McEwen over Sebastian Job, Gustavo Ariel, Lullum, Campbell, Hart, Stuckbeck, Pye, Pinto and Nielsen rounds out the top 10. Michael Janney on debut as well, finishing 11th ahead of Sam Keiter, John Caruso ahead of Salvo Talons, Luca Kita Lasseback ahead of Bika, Maciejewski, Alejandro Sanchez down to 19th, 20th place then, further down in your order then. These drivers do not score points. Sarika, Marceno, Cipolla, White, Lombardi, Thompson, who had to be a bit of a recovery drive in all of that. Sonnen, Violate, Webster and Bryn Collins rounds out the field. But Arjuna, you've got our race winner, Luke McEwen.
And a race win on debut as well. Luke, talk to us about the emotions. We saw the pump of the fist as you came across the line. How does it feel to be a winner in the Porsche eSports Super Cup?
Yeah, it's so unexpected. I'm really, really happy. Once I got the gap at the start, obviously there was a lot of fighting behind. No way I was expecting to hold them off, to be honest. 3 guys behind working together. Tow range in this car is so big, like 2 seconds, so I don't know how I've done it, but yeah, really happy.
Yeah, you say you don't know how you did it. I'll be honest in saying I still don't quite understand how they didn't close up with you. 3 of the red line contingent cars bump drafting with one another. Was there a little bit of uncertainty in your mind that the run to the checkered flag might be a little bit more dramatic?
Yeah, obviously they closed up every lap. So every lap they get more tow and more tow, so they're going to be closing up even quicker. So going into the last lap, I think they were like 0.9 behind. And I was like, yeah, this is not happening, but put in a really good few laps in the race. And yeah, I gotta say thank you to Alejandro for helping at the start. Obviously, we worked well to get the lead at the start, and yeah, unfortunately his race didn't go to plan. But yeah, really thankful for his work.
Well, congratulations on the win. I can only imagine the celebrations in Corby after the main race, but you've still got one race to go. Luke, best of luck for the main.
Thank you.
And so great to catch up with Luke McEwen there, Paul. You could tell that he's still a little bit nervous about the second race coming.
Yeah, it's a lot coming now. One driver who will be a little bit relieved after what happened. Dino Lombardi goes off. There's a slight bit of contact, and he's just a passenger as Lombardi. And then, whoa, straight in front of our guest here, Arjuna, Johan Haaf.
I mean, Johan's been through his fair share of dirt road racing on iRacing Rallycross World Championships, but Johan, I don't think you've ever necessarily seen something like that in the Porsche Tag Core eSports Super Cup.
Nope, that scared me. That really scared me, because I had Dan spotting for me in the race. Usually he's always looking at everything that's happening around, but for some reason he was looking at something a bit further back at the same time, so I had absolutely no idea what was happening and what was going my way. So I'm lucky enough I've got an ultra wide, so I could sort of see his car pop on the right hand side, but yeah, half a second later and I was dead.
Yeah, we just watched the replay from your roof camera, and it's pretty scary stuff. Talk to us, though, about being back in the Porsche Tag Core eSports Super Cup. Last year, I know, was difficult for you, juggling so many different responsibilities. You were still, of course, able to grab a top 10 in the championship standings. How are you feeling coming into what is a shortened 2024 campaign?
Yeah, pretty good, to be honest. And I think the first race sort of proves it. We've got pace. The pace is there, both in qualifying and in the races. I've got a bit more experience as well, with what's now my 5th year in the series. So yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be fighting for the championship, but I have high hopes, and I hope I'm definitely gonna be up there.
Well, great to have you back in the series, Johan. Racing from home. We'll look forward to seeing you plenty more over the course of the next 6 weeks.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
You can also see that handbrake, by the way, of Johan Haas, Paul. He's still in the rallycross mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And why wouldn't you be? It's fantastic on iRacing, I can tell you that for sure. I mean, I remember Johan's debut win in a feature race last year. It was great to see him be able to do that. looking forward to this main race then. We've got the reverse grid. Oscar Pye, another one of those debutants, is going to be starting from pole position with Matthias Stuckbeck alongside him. At this venue, we heard Sebastian Job say that pole wasn't necessarily the place to go. I mean, my goodness, it's not going to be easy for them, is it?
No, you see, we use almost the entirety of the 2.5 miles of banking here at the Daytona International Speedway, and so that draft game is significant, but Luke McEwen, I think, said it quite significantly there. He thought he was going to get closed down more by the teammates behind. It didn't work out that way. 2 seconds is your drafting range at this 6-kilometer facility with the 12 turns. If you get 2 seconds clear, Paul, you're going to be hoping and praying you can run away and storm to the checkered flag.
As we get ourselves ready for the main race here in the opening week of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing, well, let's take a quick look as how they start this race. Oscar Pye and Matthias Stuckbeck, row number 1, with Johan Harp and Zach Campbell, row 2, Chris Lulham and Gustavo Ariel on row number 3. Row 4, Sebastian Job and race winner Luke McEwen, and then it's where they finished. Pinto, Nielsen, Jani and Keita. Caruso with Talons ahead of Keita, Bach, Biko and Maciejewski. Sanchez and Rene ahead of Sarika, Marcheno, Cipolla and Parker White. And Stephen Lombardi with that big moment. Josh Thompson on a recovery drive after his issue on lap 1. Sonnen, Violate, Webster and Bryn Collins rounds out the 30 drivers on the grid. So we're about to go racing once again, this time for double the length of race. 16 laps will be ahead of these drivers. And we saw how, even if, I mean, we heard from Luke, he reckons 2 seconds is the gap that the draft is given here. That's quite a big effect, isn't it, around here?
Yeah, and I think that the most important thing that I think Luke was mentioning there was right on the outskirts. Once you get beyond 2 seconds, it's possible you'll still feel a bit of the draft, but it won't be as significant, right, to close you back up. And so that's the magic number he'll be thinking about. Realistically, though, let's be honest, Paul, no one's thinking they're going to break away here. They're just expecting settle in. Remember, like you said, double the race distance here for this main race. And so therefore, survive the first 8 laps. You've still got 8 laps after that with which to work. And counterintuitively, even if the temperatures on the racetrack aren't going to be that high, tire wear is something the drivers will be thinking about just because of how much load they are putting through the Michelin tires around the 12 turns.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers will be getting themselves set and ready for this one. You can see a few of the drivers just doing a little bit of weaving. They can't do the greatest amount of weaving with them all being lined up side by side. It's unusual for this series. It's only the first time that we've had a rolling start here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing. Pleasure to have you all along here for this, the start of the main race. 16 laps of action, and it's Oscar Pye who gets them away. Green flag racing here at Daytona. In towards turn number 1 they go. Too wide between the rest of the field through turn number 1. Onto the power, cold tyres and brakes, don't forget, but they will have had a little bit more temperature into them than they normally would get with a standing start. Into the International Horseshoe, there's a fire car around, that's going to be Nielsen, is it? Or is it Stuckbeck? It's Stuckbeck who's around. He's got turned, we stay green flag racing, he goes all the way towards the back of the field here.
And what a dramatic moment that then checked up a whole bunch of cars. We've got cars in the grass as well. Might have been Quintin Violate as Oscar Rene locks up the right front tyre on the entry into the Western Horseshoe. Somehow they get through safely. The Gulf liveried entry for Williams eSports trying to run its way on through as they run back onto the banking. That's Alessandro Biko that's now inside of Lasse back in the Fire Simsport car. Matthias Stuckbeck's dramas are not done. He's at the very back of the field. What a chaotic opening half of the lap.
I know we're not supposed to have favourites, but that's my favourite paint of the entire field, is that Gulf liveried Williams eSports car. Down towards the Le Mans chicane for the first time. Pye, Harp, Lulham, Campbell, Job, Pinto, Ariel, Keita is your top 8. Luke McEwen, your sprint race winner, down to 10th place in all of that. There you see the paint of Alessandro Biko as we come through NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Now, it's a question of, do you get a dance partner here? Do you get somebody who you maybe wouldn't expect to work with, to work together to try and pull away at the front to give yourselves the best chance for a podium here? Or do you just fight it out as here comes Campbell? We saw how aggressive he was into turn 1 in the sprint race, and once again, Campbell going aggressive on Chris Llewellyn.
That was a prototype driver move if I've ever seen one, and it should be no surprise there's a cachet of iRacing prototype drivers that come out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Campbell wants to try and work with Oscar Pie, his teammate at the front, as that's Alejandro Sanchez. What a disaster of an opening round of the championship for him, around yet again.
Oh, it's been just one round to forget here for Alejandro Sanchez. He has not had a good opening to the races. Great qualifying, but it's just all gone wrong for him in the races. There's Campbell to the inside. Can he get through? The answer is half, because Job is right along that side still, can get on the power earlier, and you can look, Chris Llewellyn, even though he's in a different team technically, is working with Job, and now behind him, Sebastian's got Gustavo Ariel to try and get, Diogo Pinto, former champion, 2 former champions here in the Porsche Heuer eSports Supercup, working together in towards the chicane.
And that's a scary proposition off the track, just in terms of setup collaboration, improving each other's driving, etc., etc. Even scarier when you consider they may be able to link up on track and do things together to push themselves forward. Pinto in front of Zach Campbell now will try and make it 3 of these red line entered machines at the front that will try and close up to Oscar Pie. The one thing that you're going to keep an eye on, I think, for some of these drivers is new surroundings, Paul. Did you see for Diogo Pinto, not racing from home, he's racing from the red line offices in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so interested to see how these team buildings, these team offices are working together. Campbell having to go defensive then on Sam Kiter, and that's just allowed Pinto to just pull away slightly. And you're seeing all these similarly painted cars. Of course, Sebastian Job not a part of Team Redline. He's an Oracle Red Bull sim racing driver. But he's getting a lot of help from the Team Redline outfit drivers here, and they are working together to try and get themselves to move forward in this field. So Oscar Pie is the leader, lap number 3 of this race. Johan Half behind. It's almost as if those two need to work together against this queue of blue and red cars, as there's your previous champions, Jordan Caruso. He's been around on the exit of turn number 7. Something has happened to him there. That's dropped him all the way down out of the points to 26.
See if we can dial up what happened to him, but now for Caruso, a lot of work to do to just try and regain the tail end of the 25-car lead pack out of the Le Mans chicane. Still Oscar Pie that leads from Johan Hart, Chris Llewellyn, Sebastian Job and Diogo Pinto. Just keep in mind how many of those cars in the top 10 are out of the red line stable. Sam Coiter included in that mix. We take a look at the replay. Caruso tried to jink to the inside on one of the Fire Simsport cars, and to be completely honest, I think he slightly turns himself on the left rear quarter panel of Kevin Nielsen.
That is all on Caruso there. He's trying desperately to move forward in that one, as Johan Half now moving to the head of the field. He's now the driver to make the hole in the air ahead of Chris Llewellyn. Sebastian Job into third. Oh, it's a mistake from Llewellyn. Job goes down the inside and Oscar Pie goes down the inside of the ball. Here comes Zach Campbell in all of this. Well, all of a sudden it switches one way and then the other through the exit of the International Horseshoe in towards the Western Horseshoe again, onto the brakes. Job right up behind Oscar Pie. My goodness, this is craziness here, Arjuna.
And that kink, I've got to tell you, it doesn't look so scary in the sim. You go there, you watch it in the real world. When a GT car is alongside a prototype, there is no scarier sight that I have seen just yet in motorsport. The difference in speed, it's pretty scary when you've got competing cars as well. So Zach Campbell got through that entire situation relatively cleanly. But look now at the scenario that's around him. Behind him, Heuer and Ariel, 2 more of the red line cars. In front of him, Lolum, Job and Pinto. 5 of the top 10 right now are out of the Verstappen.com, Team Redline or Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing stables.
My goodness, this is, yeah, you mentioned it, and it's absolutely right then. It's a scary thought for the rest of the grid right now, seeing that team, or those teams, should I say, working together out here on track. And it's one thing to do it here at Daytona, where you have to have a lot of cooperation, a lot of working together here, but it's another thing to do it for the rest of the season. Hockenheim next, you're not going to be able to do that to the same effect. Campbell is getting forced out wide at the back of shot there, and that's going to be Keuer then. Sam Keuer trying to work his way through. It's on the outside for the International Horseshoe. That's not generally where you want to be, and no, Campbell closes the door.
Yeah, I think this is a case, right, where enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so Oscar Pye is now latching on to Johan Harth and saying, can we be buddy-buddy for the next 10 or so laps before we then go let loose at the end? Zach Campbell, though, doesn't get that luxury. He goes a little deep into the Western Horseshoe, surely locked up the inside front tyre, able to hold on to the spot, albeit with a little bit of a gap opening up in front of him now. And as they work back onto the banking, you've got to look at that train behind and realize that behind Heuer and Ariel, then you get to the rest of the Apex Racing team drivers. Salva Talons, Michael Gianni, Luke McEwen, even Luca Kita, who's made that switch over, of course, from Urano eSports, who closed their doors at the end of 2023 into the Apex Racing team camp. We mentioned, Paul, how scary it is with those red line drivers linked up. The more that I look through that timing tower, the more that I realize there are 2 stables that have the majority of the drivers in this field.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be an intriguing season of this championship. You will not want to miss a single round of this. And look at Hart, he's just sitting duck there at the front. Pye gives him the bump draft, Lulham gives Pye a bump draft as well, and then to the top lane goes Lulham and Job. He's got a partner as Lulham, and Job, that's not going to work out for them this time, or is it? Round the outside of turn 1 is going to be a tall order, and here comes Diogo Pinto now and Sebastian Job. So Pinto moving forward in this queue, although Job fights back into 4th place. So yeah, really close stuff, and I can tell you, 1st to 25th, so that's the entirety of the points covered by 10 seconds here in this race. Incredible stuff. And it's always close here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing, and Oscar Pye is feeling the pressure now from Chris Lulham.
Yeah, you say top 25 score points. Alejandro Sanchez, as well as Jordan Caruso, 26th and 27th, have still got to make up about 4 seconds or so to get themselves back into the point. So it's not just those at the front that have got stuff to fight for. Let's keep that in mind. But drivers up and down the field with championship intentions, wanting to be leapfrog and sprung from this opening round. And we'll just be keeping that in mind. Look at that race for 13th, by the way. I mentioned that that Luca Kita joined up with the Apex Racing team. He's directly behind Lassa back, and then in front of them, a bit more of a margin to that Golf liveried Williams eSports car of Alessandro Pico.
Yeah, it's really, really tense stuff out there. A little bit of a gap forming between the front group and then that second group. So we've got a bit of a breakaway at the front here over the rest of the group. Myself, Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati here on commentary. And well, if you're enjoying this one, next week we've got even more. It's the 2nd week of this Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup by iRacing, and it's from the Hockenheim ring, so make sure you join us next week for that action. But what an exciting race this is so far, and we've got 10 to go in this one. There's still plenty of action to go here, and that's a squeeze. That was a squeeze from Oscar Pye. Chris Lulham gets forced off the track. He's got to serve a slowdown penalty with that. That is crucial. That's big. And look at Zach Campbell making a move through the International Horseshoe.
And that's one of the dangers of turn one. If you get stuck together with the car alongside, you can get run out of road, as Chris Lullen did there. Fortunately, didn't lose him too much momentum, but as now Sam Coiter tries to go the long way around on Zach Campbell, you've got to worry about Salva Talons trying to get to the inside. Coiter and Talons make some contact, and now Gustavo Ariel, the Brazilian, is off and into the grass. Gustavo Ariel, let's not forget, had to win the final round of the championship pool last year to solidify himself in the top 15. There are so many strong drivers that we've got to talk about.
Well, there were 30 people in the Royal Rumble last Saturday. This Saturday, we have got the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup with 30 people competing. They all want to be number one. They all want to be the championship leader heading into next week. But my goodness, this is getting a bit tense, a bit tight, a little bit physical out there as well. We've not gone full Lariato, but we're certainly seeing a few shoulder charges going on out there.
Yeah, look at how much Gustavo Ariel's having to work the wheel on the banking. Remember, these drivers often have direct drive wheelbases with lots of power, and when you're on that banking, it's not a smooth ride by any means. So do have to keep that in mind. Join the front of the field where Sebastian Jones trying to go on the high line, forced along by Diogo Pinto, but Johan Hart, the Frenchman, is going to hold the lead. Oscar Pai in that Coanda eSports machine is running a pretty strong race, all things considered. Luke McEwen won the sprint race as a rookie. Oscar Pai is a rookie. He's running second in the main race.
And it's two Frenchmen at the front of the field. Johan Hart for the Apex Racing team and Oscar Pai for VRS Coanda eSports. They certainly having to work together in the two countrymen. But you see behind Job from the UK, Pinto from Portugal. They're having to try and work their way past these two. We're not even at the halfway point of this race, Arjuna, and already we've seen about half a season's worth of action. Here he comes, down the inside goes Job on Oscar Pai. He's going to force him high off the racing line, and all of a sudden he's out to dry. Oscar Pai is going to really struggle to force his way back in. Oh, he's just got lucky there. There was just enough space.
Look at the heads up though, awareness of Oscar Pai. Went up slightly higher than the regular line, a little bit more distance, but gave him the opportunity to slide back on in. As much as I think Chris Lullen wants to try and throw it up the inside into this Le Mans chicane, it's not a necessarily wise move. Pai will hold the position, and all it's done is now grown the gap between third and fourth to over 1 second, and Oscar Pai has held on to that fourth spot. So, status quo at least as they enter the Le Mans chicane as we check out the replay into turn number one.
This, I believe, is Luca Kita then getting involved. There's a little bit of bumping in towards turn number one, and there's contact with the Stormforce racing cars, and off it goes into the grass up to the front because Sebastian Job is working his way, or is he? Of course, former teammate of Johan Hart. As out of turn number one, he's staying alongside, and he needs to stay there for the International Horseshoe. And Pinto, if he's smart about this, he'll try and follow Sebastian Job through the inside. Well, there's a gap there, but it's not opened up enough for Pinto. But Job to the front of the field as we reach the halfway point of the race.
So new race leader, and also through turn number one, Oscar Pai went very wide. He's almost dropped out of the top 10. He's left Zach Campbell as the best of the VRS Coanda running machines, and now still trying to defend from the Dutch driver Sam Coiter as they work off of that Western Horseshoe. So as it stands right now, you could make the argument it's 4 at the front. Realistically though, Paul, the train goes back to 21st position still. 21 cars in the draft as Lasse back drops down the timing order.
He certainly does that as well. So something's happened to Lasse at the turn 6 and 7. And they go through the NASCAR bend turns 1 and 2. Back towards the front, and it's down the inside for Pinto. Now is that half just thinking, okay, if you want to play that game, I'll just happily sit in behind. You've got to be careful though if you're Johan, because I mean, it's obvious from the race one, from the sprint race, that these drivers, they're all working together even though they are not teammates. Here's what happened to Lasse back then in towards the run.
Oh,
It's
no.
a dive down the inside, and don't say that's Caruso.
Now, I don't think it could have been because Caruso's back in that second pack.
It would have been Lombardi then, wouldn't it?
Probably Lombardi or Simone Marcello, but Marcello's retired. So power of deduction, Sherlock Holmes and Mr. Watson in the booth have figured out it was poor Dino Lombardi after his mega incident in race 1, another incident to add to the mix. What I was going to point out though is now it's again Joe Pinto Lullum, the red light entered cars running 1, 2, and 3. Paul, I'm pretty sure Sebastian Job was lifting off the throttle to force Johan Hart to concede that second spot to Pinto and Lullum. This is the advantage you have, right, in this sort of a race. It's not always about being foot to the floor. Sometimes it's about boxing out the car next to you and going, oh, you can't run as fast as you want to. I'm going to determine what speed you can run instead.
These drivers driving into the sunset here at Daytona International Speedway, and they're certainly having a lot of fun out there. Well, we're certainly having a lot of fun calling this one, and it's who's going to finish where in all of this as we go through down the back straight once again. Here comes Pinto, and it's bump drafting time. Those drivers at the front then of Joe, Pinto and Lullum, they're trying to work together to try and pull away from Johan Hart, Zach Campbell and Sam Kiter behind them. Here's a replay, and it's Josh Thompson. He didn't have a good opening race, and again, it's another Altus car making a move, and around goes Thompson.
And that is Dino Lombardi again. We don't need to do the deduction to figure it out. It could only be that one culprit. And so race control going to be quite busy in the camp of the 13 post-race. And poor Josh Thompson, his return to the Super Cup hasn't necessarily gone the way that he would want us. Out of turn 1 into the infield they go. Diogo Pinto going to be down low. Chris Lullum up high. And Johan Hart, Zach Campbell, former teammates, tucked into 4th and 5th positions running behind. Still, as it stands right now, Dino Lombardi in the leading pack, has a couple of cars behind him. 19 cars still have the draft at this point, Paul. And so as much as I think Redline find themselves very, very comfortable, where do the rest of the drivers feel their potential has gone? Because Oscar Pai is an example, now down to 10th.
Yeah, it's all about where you are out there and what position you are in this queue. And the further we get into this race, the closer towards the front of the field you want to be. But with the drivers all being so evenly matched as well, that's easily said than done. Here we see Luke McEwen, his sprint race winner, into 8th place ahead of Salva Talons. Oscar Pai, as you mentioned, down to that 10th place, and Michael Janik just outside of the top 10 in 11th. Down the back straight, once again they go. These cars thundering past our camera position here. Oh, this is a great one. It just gives you the impression of speed that they're carrying through that Le Mans chicane.
Yeah, but if only you could get a sense for that speed in the real world as well. If you want to go and see the bus stop, the Le Mans chicane in the real world, the closest you can get is the other side of Lake Lloyd. Now the Ferris wheel is a very nice place to go and experience Daytona, but yes, build us a grandstand so we can see the speed that they carry there. Look how Zach Campbell's gone below the yellow line, Paul. He's trying something different, just trying to close up to those top 4 drivers as they stand right now. Look at the 44 Pinto really committing under the brakes.
Oh, but he's got Lullum to the inside here, so Lullum trying to keep a hold of 2nd place here, and he will do just that. But here comes Johan Hart. This is the problem. They're obviously all trying to work together here at the front 3. The problem for them, though, is that behind them, they've got Johan Hart from the Apex Racing team. You've got VRS Commander, eSports driver of Zach Campbell as well involved in all of this. They want to spoil the fun that the Oracle Red Bull sim racing driver Sebastian Job and the Team Redline driver of Diogo Pinto and the Verstappen.com racing driver of Chris Lullum.
Did you notice how defensive Zach Campbell went there through turn 6? He is really feeling the pressure right now, which, to what you were saying, Paul, I think is going to mean that Johan Hart is slightly by himself in this fight against Joe Pinto and Lullum. So as we come towards what will be 4 to go this time by, every time we come past the start-finish line, we see them into turn number 1. Keep an eye on what Pinto and Lullum are doing. Do they feel like they can go for the lead, or are they content with short time in this race remaining to hold on to podium spots and to not trip over one another? Because half a second now their gap between 3rd and 4th positions. Johan Hart has got some work to do.
I could somewhere imagine that a certain Max Verstappen is watching this one keenly, and he'll be just be calmly just sat there going, just don't take each other out, boys. Let's try and get a nice finish up at the front there for them. Again, lull them to the high line, trying to get out in the draft, almost as if he's trying to just avoid bumping into the back of Diogo Pinto into turn number 1. It's very easy to miss your braking as well into turn number 1 as well, because you are coming from VMAX all the way turning and braking at the same time. So easy to lock a brake here.
Sometimes you need to do it in multiple phases, right? As you come off the banking, you scrub off a certain amount of the speed, then you get into the straight line portion of the braking in through turn 1. So that is, without a shadow of a doubt, you'd have to say, the most difficult corner on this track. Not to say that the rest of the track isn't difficult, it's just one of those corners, tracks where it's quite flat in its nature. There are not necessarily too many undulations to worry about. Instead, what you're dealing with, especially here out of turn 6, bumps on braking, bumps on exit that unsettle the car and mean that you're having to fight around and fish around for the ultimate speed from the machine. As it stands right now, though, I was kind of wondering, Paul, what would happen in terms of tyre wear and tyre life. What we have, I guess, started to see is Redline teammates at the front not as close to one another as they were at the end of the sprint race.
I mean, one thing I will say that will help the tyre life here is the fact that the track temperature, with it going into sunset, it's only 21 degrees Celsius down on the asphalt, so that will be helping the tyre life for them out here. Further down your order, Dino Lombardi, 16th, has been in the wars, along with Bryn Collins, who's up 13 places from where he started. He's got Luca Kita and Julian Sermon there as well, further down the order here. So interesting to see how it's going at that back there. Towards the front, it's still neck and neck.
Yeah, but watch as Johan Hart has nowhere to go. He finds himself once again boxed out and run out of road. 3 laps to go at the line. It means that if you are Johan, you're running out of chances to really find your way on forward. And increasingly, as Campbell closes, Coyton, Ariel, McEwen, the list goes on and on. Realistically, Paul, at some point, the teammates up front have got to stop being teammates.
As they go into the Western Horseshoe, onto the brakes goes Johan Hart once again. Onto the power. Where can Johan go here? Where can he move forward in this one? Let's have a look on board with our full throttle from Buzz. To go, it's Sebastian Job leading Diogo Pinto over Chris Lullum, with Johan Hart right with them. There's a little bit of a gap now between this front 4 though, because Sam Keiter and Gustavo Ariel have been able to move ahead of Zach Campbell. He's down to 7th ahead of sprint race winner Luke McEwen in 8th place. One thing that a lot of people have got to remember here though, in this race and this series, it is an individual series, and it is actually against the regulations of the series to have team orders here. So as much as you might be working together, at the end of the day, you do have to run individually here.
Yes, and so now we're at that point, right, as well, where surely all affiliations are out the window as further down through the field, Maciejewski, Webster and Lombardi have all come to blows. There's the Drago racing car of Jakub Maciejewski that's rejoining the track.
Maciejewski then is further down the order, but I can tell you that Dino Lombardi, he's been in the wars, he's been bumping pretty much everything that's moving. Well, he's got himself a black flag, so he's got to serve a penalty, so he's hit the incident point limit here in this one. That's 17 incident points that he's hit in this one, so it's not just other cars that he's hit, he's also hit that instant limit. Back to the front though, through the final couple of corners. Now, is this a rehearsal for what happens next lap? Is Johan Haaf's a little bit too far back right now, Arjuna, as we start the white flag lap?
Yeah, at this point, there's no chance Johan really has got to try and work forward. The question will be, where does Joe place his car? Where does he force Lullum and Pinto to go in this race? White flag, of course, in the air. We've got about 5.5 kilometers, 12 turns to figure it all out. Joe can run the middle of the track in many parts and leave Pinto and Lullum forced to squabble over second. Through the international horseshoe, Lullum on the inside, Pinto on the outside. No change for second and third.
This is really close at the front of your field. The front 8 covered by less than 2 seconds right now. Lullum looking to the inside of Pinto. There's no room at the end. Is it a case of he's trying to defend from Haaf though at this point, because Johan is looking a little bit keen. Sam Keiter is looking keen as well in 5th place on Johan Haaf. On to NASCAR turns 1 and 2 for the last time here in this race. It's the first time that this championship has come here to this Daytona International Speedway. And well, we've just got just a few more corners to go in this one. Sebastian Job still leading this one, ahead of Pinto, ahead of Lullum, onto the brakes. This is where you need to get the good run, out of the Le Mans chicane and onto the power. Don't get yourself a slow down penalty either. Johan Haaf, I think he's a little bit too far back, but who's going to take the win in this one? It's Job from Pinto. Pinto's got a bump. Job's actually moving out to the right. Here comes Lullum in all of this as well. It's going to be absolutely neck and neck at the line, and it's going to be at the line Sebastian Job, who takes victory by hundredths of a second over Diogo Pinto. Chris Lullum finishes in 3rd place on debut in the series. My goodness, what a race that was.
Incredible stuff. Hopefully not the last time that we bring these Porsche Cup cars to the World Center of Racing. Sebastian Job started off the campaign with a 10th pole position of the career, said it wasn't maybe the most important pole position by any means, but able to convert it to the main race victory, the end.
You can see how happy Sebastian is with that. It's a pole position and it's a race win here today. You got pole position, finished 2nd place in the sprint race, and it's a race victory here for Sebastian Job from the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team. You'd be absolutely over the moon with that, and why wouldn't you be? It's a great start to the season for Sebastian, the young Brit. Let's go and take you through your race results then and see how everything's go on. Of course, it's the Buzz post-race show coming up here, and well, we're going to have a look at something that happened here. So this is what happened at the front then, Arjuna. Take us through what we saw right at the end.
Yeah, you can see that none of the red line drivers wanted to go for it. They realized they couldn't necessarily force the issue, and this is what we were talking about in the All-Stars with the reduced draft that iRacing has updated in the last 12 or so months. Out of that chicane, unless you're right on the back bumper, it can be difficult to get the slingshot to the line. And so as much as Pinto and Lullum were trying and closing in the end, just that little bit of side drafting that was played by Sebastian Job at the perfect point in time, able to grab him the victory by 25 thousandths of a second.
Well, what a finish it was. A photo finish there. Let's take a look then. As Arjuna said, Sebastian Job by 25 thousandths of a second over Diogo Pinto, with Chris Lullum in 3rd place. Johan Heuer, a fightful move into 4th place with Sam Keiter, Gustavo Ariel, Zach Campbell and Luke McEwen, the sprint race winner, rounding out the top 8 with Salva Tallens and Oscar Pye down to 10th. Alessandro Bico in 11th ahead of Kevin Nielsen, Michael Jani and Luca Kita. Two Stormforce Racing teammates in 13th and 14th. Bryn Collins and Julian Zonin 15th and 16th ahead of Jakub Maciejewski. Cooper Webster, Jordan Caruso, defending champion, 19th in the end, ahead of Alejandro Sanchez in 20th. Quentin Violate in 21st, ahead of Lasse Bach, Parker White, Matti Sipola. Marino Sarica is the last of the point scorers, and then those out the points. Dino Lombardi, Josh Thompson, Matthias Stuckbeck, Oscari Rinne, and then Simone Maria Marceno did not finish that race. Well, what a race that was, and let's digest it all with your race winner, Sebastian Job, standing by with Arjuna Kankapati.
Well, Seb, you walked us through your qualifying lap. You said it maybe wasn't the most important qualifying lap of your career, but 10th pole position converts to a 14th main race win in the series. How are you feeling after we wrap up round number 1?
I'm buzzing. That's definitely one of the sweetest wins I've had on a... Like I said to you, I just want to finish. So to get a second and a first is just the dream start to the season. I think I don't know how many points I get for second, but it's very close to maximum points for the round. So as far as I'm concerned, this couldn't have gone any better. And it was an amazing display of teamwork with the Team Redline guys. It was fantastic.
Yeah, of course, you and I, we've talked about it a little bit on some other events that we've been a part of in the last month or so, but Oracle Red Bull, Sim Racing joining forces with Team Redline. We saw that in display here today. How's it been going behind the scenes? We were wondering that it's a very scary thought for Sebastian Joe, for Diogo Pinto, two champions in the series, to be working together.
No, there's no issues there. It's been super smooth, swimmingly well. We've been all getting along really well. We've all been practicing together every day, always practicing in a group. No one's off doing their own thing. It's the perfect working scenario. And I've not had much more fun practicing for events than when I'm doing it with these guys. So it's been amazing. And I think this result just shows what that's come to.
Well, it's going to be an interesting season, slightly reduced in length, of course, but a victory to open up the campaign. Congratulations, Seb. We'll see you in a week's time over the Hockenheim Ring.
Thank you.
And we'll switch over from one previous champion to another previous champion. Diogo Pinto joins us now. Diogo, I've got to ask, where are you racing from today?
From my house.
That's your house?
Yeah.
What an upgrade you've got to your sim racing room in the last 12 months. Diogo, talk to us about that first round of the championship.
Yeah, it was an interesting event. My qualifying was very underwhelming. I had quite a lot of pace in quali, but struggled with consistency and just not good enough in quali. And then the race was very well executed. Stayed out of trouble, did my moves, and got up to the front. And then once I got there, it was just to hold the position and help the team get the most amount of Redline drivers at the front, and I think that's a very solid start. Well, an amazing start for the team with the drivers we have.
After this, we go from Daytona to the Hockenheim Ring. So next week, there will be less bump drafting, right? Maybe not as much teamwork at the front?
Yeah, I'm happy that we go to a more, I guess, rudimentary track, a GP layout track. So I think I'll be quite good. I need to improve my quali pace a bit, but it should be an interesting race again. And I'm really happy that we finally have a really strong squad in the team, and it's really fun to practice with the guys. They're all extremely fast, and feeling motivated to keep working.
That's exactly what Seb was just saying, that it's been great for the practice behind the scenes. So it's a scary proposition, Diogo. Diogo, congratulations on the second place here in the main race, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you.
And so another Redline driver joins us in the mix, this time representing Verstappen.com Racing. Chris Lolland, the rookie, finishes on the third step of the podium to close out the main race. Chris, it looks like you were enjoying yourself out there, really getting into the thick of things. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just a very good show of communication and teamwork. That was the main thing. We were all committed to our positions, and we had a rhythm that the same thing happened over and over again, and we were well communicated and made sure no one could get through our barrier, really.
You can tell us as the rookie here. Paul and myself are kind of debating this. Do you feel more pressure as a rookie or less pressure coming in with no expectations?
I mean, definitely less pressure, but I wouldn't say there's no expectations. because you know, I have a lot of experience in general with iRacing recently, but no, there's definitely a little bit less pressure, but I can't say it's taken anything away from the enjoyment.
Well, great. Glad to hear you're having fun, because that's a great way to be fast as well. Congratulations, Chris. We'll see you in a week's time. And it's going to be a fun one, Paul, because over to the Hockenheim ring, Diogo Pinto called it a bit more of a rudimentary racetrack. Now, I'm not sure what he meant by that.
Well, it is, of course, home of the Porsche Experience Centre at Hockenheim. It is a tricky track. You always think back to last year, the opening round, when Zach Campbell got the main win last year, and it's that run down to the hairpin through the long sweeping left-hander where really a lot of people got caught out. So it's going to be an intriguing round, that one, and we don't have long to wait for it either, because it's just 1 week's time. These first 3 rounds, first 3 weeks of the series, Arjuna, they come thick and fast.
And then we'll get into some more of the changes, right? We talked about the mid-season tournament, the double main races to close out our championship at the very end. We have got such an intriguing 2024 Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup in store for everyone. And if Daytona was any indication, Paul, the Hockenheim ring, it's going to be crazy.
Well, it certainly was an exciting and thrilling round of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup by iRacing. From myself, Paul Smith, Arjuna Kankipati, congratulations to our race winners. On debut, Luke McEwen taking a sprint race win, and then Sebastian Job in the main race getting himself a race win. Until 1 week's time, from everybody here, it's goodbye.